Ladies and gentlemen, the Mangalorian is live. Hopefully, you're doing well today. It is February 6th, 2026. So it's 2626. Write that down. We won't see that again for about 100 years. Anyways, folks, I hope you're doing well. It's I, Danny. I'm joined by Jordan over here. What's going on, Jordan?
What's up, bro?
How are
Excited
you?
to get to this Vegeta stuff. Let's do it.
Yeah, okay. So a few weeks ago, we did a stream and we discussed the character arc of Son Goku. And on that stream, as we're doing it, I'm like, man, I would love to come back and do a second one about Vegeta because I see a lot of people say things that a lot of folks, no matter where you're at, they'll give different opinions on the series. And one of the things that they will say is they'll say, hey, Vegeta's got the best character arc. Vegeta has the best story arc in Dragon Ball Z. Now, Vegeta's story arc takes place 90% of it in Dragon Ball Z. With Goku, obviously, we're talking about the entirety of the manga at different points. With Vegeta, it's just the Z portion. But I sort of do agree with a lot of people that Vegeta is definitely Vegeta definitely probably does have my personal favorite character arc in the series. Jordan and I went through it a little bit on the Mangalorian as we did the regular volumes, but today I'm going to bring up our guest in just a moment, but today we're going to go even deeper as we discuss Vegeta's character arc. Like I said, even deeper than we already did, because one of the things that I've noticed is there's a lot of misunderstandings about Vegeta's character arc. Before I bring in our guest, Jordan, how do you feel about Vegeta's character arc in comparison to Goku? Without getting into it yet, because we will in a minute, but how do you feel about it, like when you first became a fan, and do you feel the same way now?
Well, when I first got into it, I don't think I ever recognized Vegeta as somebody that like lost the essence of who he was. I won't lie, like back whenever I was watching Dragon Ball Z in the anime and I was watching it dubbed, I was way more annoyed by Vegeta and way less of a fan of his character than I am today. After I discovered Rio, like his interpretation of the character and the way that he's handled in the Japanese version, and in the manga and in modern Dragon Ball, I became much more a fan. But in terms of like how I feel about it now, I have a way greater appreciation for it now than I ever have. He's probably, I mean, he is one of my top favorite characters. When I was younger, I really liked Goku and Gohan. Actually, I remember at one point during the Cell Saga, Boost Saga stuff, I started to think to myself that I liked Gohan better than Goku for a little while. That's changed in the modern. Yeah, that changed in the modern era. I definitely lean more towards Goku in the modern era. But yeah, I love Vegeta's character arc. I think I first started to gain an appreciation for it during the Boo saga, but modern Dragon Ball has kind of like insulated it for me. So
fair enough. All right. Well, without any further ado, let me go ahead and bring in our special guest. He was here for the previous discussion, Dragon Ball scholar, author. I guess you can call him webmaster. I don't know if people still use that word. For the Tao of DragonBall.com, Mr. Derek Padula. Yo, welcome back.
Everybody. Hi, Danny. Hi, Jordan. Hey. I'm doing great. It's good to be here.
Well, thank you so much once again for joining me. I always appreciate you taking time out to talk to us. Obviously, you are still working on your books. We talked about them last time. It's a work in progress. Everything that you have worked on sort of began here. This is Derek's first book, Over 9,000, which is the When Worlds Collide. This is the shortest of your books, and it's the one that for now goes into the relationship between Goku and Vegeta and why they're different characters. So to make it real simple for everybody, in the description, I do have links going directly to purchase the book. It's a pretty easy read. It's a very short book compared to his the Dragon Ball Culture series, which is thicker. I wanted to ask you, when you wrote this book, because I do want to know, is it safe to say now that this book was maybe the appetizer or like the test run before jumping into the Culture series?
Yeah, this book is the result of 9 years of concentrated effort. I started work on my Dragon Ball writing in 2003, and this book came out in 2012. And it took a lot of time to learn how to write, to make it easy to understand, and to provide something original that is insightful, that adds to people's understanding beyond power levels. Even though the book is called It's Over 9,000, it's all about power levels. It goes into more than that. It's really about the psychology of the characters, Goku and Vegeta, their childhoods, their father figures, and why they think the way that they do. And I had to learn psychology. I had to learn human behavior and why our parents kind of they do their best, but they kind of mess us up. And they teach us a lot of things that we then carry into adulthood. And so with Goku and Vegeta being full-blooded Saiyans, you'd think from a genetic level that they would be exactly like, but their childhoods change the way that they think. So the book goes into these deeper concepts than a lot of Dragon Ball fans think about when they're just discussing about who can beat who in a fight. And it took a lot of effort. And I also had a lot of growth, personal growth in my life as I was writing it, because I got engaged and I learned a lot about myself in being in a deeper relationship. And my fiance at the time, Deborah, helped me learn how to write. And I was so into like information overload. She was just like, no, cut that out. You need to focus on the humanity of these characters and what they mean to the fans. So I learned how to do that by, it was kind of like when Akira Toriyama had to go through the gauntlet of learning how to write and draw a manga with Kazuhiko Torishima, and he kept rejecting all of his submissions. And he learned through this gauntlet of failure. And Deborah was like that for me. She's like, I don't even know what you're trying to say here. So that helped me grow as a person in the same way that Toriyama did, and the way that Vegeta and Goku do, is going through this trial by fire. And um, as a result, that's my first book and my best-selling book. And I get emails from people telling me that it's like their Bible. They love Vegeta or Goku, and they look to that book as a guide to how they should live. So that's so satisfying to hear as an author, because every artist who cares about their work struggles to produce their art, whether it's an illustration, music, a movie, or acting, or writing. And to get that validation from fans is so satisfying. And thank you to everyone in the chat who has already read the book or is just ordering it right now. That's awesome to see. Thank you for supporting me. And I love discussing these two characters. Goku saved my life when I was bullied as a teenager, and Vegeta is a guide on how to be proud of yourself and how to live. So I think both of them have lessons to teach us. And today we're going to dive deep into Vegeta and why he is such a powerful figure in so many people's lives.
He's the most popular. I think it's safe to say that in the West, he's probably the most popular character. And because I want to get into like that and the fact that he's an anti-hero for a long time and how that works. But everybody, yeah, this is a really good read, y'all. It's shorter than the culture books, but it doesn't mean it has any less wealth of information, because this goes through the life of Vegeta and really, I think, paints a good picture of, because this whole Goku Vegeta thing, it's basically just another version of the Prince and the Pauper. And Vegeta's literally a prince. What happens when you are raised in a class-based society where you're told your entire life that you are special? Then you find somebody else who you, in your head, after having a lifetime of being an egomaniac, without even realizing it in some ways, you get challenged by somebody who you view as being beneath you. Vegeta's character is so well written in the Dragon Ball manga. Akira Toriyama did such an amazing job writing this character. I'm not even sure if people even understand Vegeta, including some of his biggest fans, you know? So I'm just saying this is a must-have, y'all. I would check the Amazon, the link and everything in the description. It would take you directly there. And like I said, it's an easier read because it's quicker. And I think people, like, it's just the truth. I hate to say it, but people are more familiar with Z than they are the pre-Z stuff. So I think it'll be easier for them to grab into. But it does also serve as a good appetizer, because I would assume that after people read this one, then it'll be easier to get into the culture books. So
That's right.
Before we started recording, or before we went live, I was talking to you guys about how I think this Vegeta, man, one of the big problems with the character of Vegeta is that a lot of folks do not understand Vegeta's character, courtesy of the English dub. And I'm not going to turn this whole stream into a dub bashing affair, but there are things that there are lines the dub added and things that are said in the dub that can very easily mislead people. And then there's also things that are, I would say there are things that are very subtle, right? Very, very subtle, that aren't played up as being a big deal, that are. Example, I'll give you an example. In the dub, one of the most famous lines is when Vegeta confronts 19 and says, "I am the prince of all Saiyans once again." In the Japanese version, it's not exactly that. He says, I am the prince of the Saiyans, not all Saiyans. And it might sound to the untrained ear like, oh, okay, well, what's the difference? There is a difference, because anytime I see somebody say something like, Vegeta should wish back the Saiyans, Vegeta and Goku should wish back planet Vegeta, Vegeta wants to repopulate the universe with Saiyans, it's like, you clearly do not understand this character, and you clearly are a dub fan, because the idea of him being the prince of all Saiyans is not the same as the prince of the Saiyans, because there's nobody for Vegeta to rule over, nor does he want to. I did a video called The Prince of All Saiyans way back when Super was running, and we went into this in that video. But I want to go actually further back, even before Dragon Ball. So Jordan, we talked about this a little bit in the last Mangalorian we did with Derek. Can you explain to the people what Toriyama's connection is between Sun Wukong and Vegeta? Because people, I think that Goku and Sun Wukong are interchangeable, when actually there might be even more of Sun Wukong in Vegeta in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, Sun Wukong was a very prideful character who tried to take over heaven, and he was humbled and became a Taoist Buddhist martial artist, and eventually became the victorious fighting Buddha. That's essentially very, very reminiscent to Vegeta's character arc. Sun Wukong was a prideful character throughout the entire story. It's just that pride was sort of redirected towards something other than himself. And you can definitely tell that Vegeta, he emulates that character arc. He goes from being a very, very selfish person, only having pride in himself, to having pride in his family. And even Goku, when he kills himself in the Buu saga, he names Kakarot as one of the reasons he was willing to sacrifice himself. So he really grows as a character in that way. Derek mentioned in the last video that we did that Sun Wukong learned to develop appreciation and respect for his comrades that he traveled with in Journey to the West, and that's very, very similar to what happens to Vegeta. He learns to have pride in the people around him rather than solely himself. And I think one of the things that people misunderstand about Vegeta, and this kind of comes back to what you were talking about, is that he essentially is pure in the sense that he believes that he is right to a fault. And that's essentially what happened with Sun Wukong himself. Sun Wukong believed that he was morally in the right to a fault. So Vegeta, he is raised to believe that he's the prince of the Saiyans. He's superior to all of them. And he's not only superior to all of them in the sense that he's stronger, he also considers himself superior to all of them because he actually holds up their ideology in his mind better than the rest of the Saiyans. That scene where Vegeta wipes out Nappa, if you think about it, that's basically just telling us, the reader, that if Vegeta knew that the entire population of planet Vegeta were saying something akin to Nappa, he wouldn't care about them. It's about them meeting his standard, and the fact that they were dominated and destroyed by Frieza, they never met his standard. That's the reason whenever Dodoria brings up Planet Vegeta and the Saiyans, he tells them that he doesn't care about them, is because ultimately he's disappointed in them in the sense that he did not feel that they measured up to his personal idea of what Saiyan pride is. And that's the main focus of Vegeta's early character arc, is that he is sort of a exaggerated version of what Saiyan pride is, in the sense that it's all about personal pride and this survival of the fittest attitude. So that to me is what's the most reminiscent about Vegeta. There's other things, but there's to me that's what's most reminiscent about Vegeta to Sun Wukong, is that sort of growth that he goes through in terms of not necessarily losing his pride, but his pride going into a more proactive direction. The same thing goes for him developing pride as a martial artist rather than being prideful as a Saiyan. That's also a mark of growth on his pride and his character development. So I think that's where Toriyama probably took inspiration from in terms of like Sun Wukong and connecting Sun Wukong to Vegeta's character development, is the fact that Vegeta is inherently a very, very prideful character, and he never really loses that trait. So,
I mean, I always found it funny how Vegeta and Goku are two different sides of Wukong. It's just, the duality. Derek, I want to give you the stage here, because I want to ask you, why do you think Vegeta's character arc, from who he started, from how we first see him as this like warrior with Nappa, going planet by planet, just wiping out civilizations and just being a prick in every sense of the word, to him sort of becoming a family man? Like, what do you think is the biggest, why do you think Vegeta is so popular? And that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, do you think that if people really understood Vegeta, he would be even more popular? Like, but basically, let me start over again. My question is, why do you think Vegeta is so popular now, looking back on it? Because, like I said, you did write this book a while ago, but I think this is a timeless book. Have your thoughts changed on how you felt back then?
No, Vegeta is as relatable now as he was before in 2012, and they've made him even more relatable, in fact, through Super. And I think, touching on what Jordan said, Sun Wukong was born special. He was born out of a stone, and all of the deities in heaven were just blown away by this creature coming out of the ether, the void. And then this beam of light shined up when he woke, and his eyes shone bright and everything, and he was near invincible and super intelligent and everything else. Vegeta is the same way. He was born special, and he was told that he was a prince. He was better than others. His power level was higher at birth, and he was taught that he was superior to everyone else. And then his real life actions made him, it validated that idea. So he believed it every single day. And when he encountered Goku and Krillin and Yamcha, Tenshinhan, Piccolo, and Gohan, and Chaozu on Earth, and Yajirobe, and lost that fight, he was proven to not be the strongest being in the universe. And of course, he knew all about Frieza, but Frieza hadn't been introduced yet. Same with Dodoria and Zarbon and Kui and the Ginyu Force. But when he's introduced, he's like the strongest man in the universe, and he talks like that and he believes it. But then he faces reality, and it literally punches him in the face, and that is relatable. When you become an adult and you have to survive and you struggle, you realize that you are still unique, but you may not be the most special person in the universe. And people who watch Dragon Ball and see Vegeta struggle can relate to that. They empathize with Vegeta and they watch him change over time, and they become attached to him emotionally. And for that reason, I think people see themselves in Vegeta and then they try to act like Vegeta in real life, and they use it as a source of pride for themselves. So that's the emotional side of it. The other side is that he was introduced by Akira Toriyama's new editor at the start of the Dragon Ball Z period to appeal to girls. He's a sexy character. He's the bad man, as it says on his back of his shirt, and he is someone who people find attractive. In contrast to Goku, in the ways that make him feel like a bad boy that has to be fixed because he's a bit broken, and that's because of how he was raised. He was taught that he was superior to everyone, and if someone is weaker than him, they should die because they have no value. Like Jordan was talking about, when Nappa gets his back broken by Vegeta from the Kaioken, Nappa no longer has any value to him. He's a hindrance, and he's just discard him. He's in the way of Vegeta's fight, and growth. So that's a brutal way to look at life, but it's a bit of a realist. Yeah, there you go. That's a realist, compared to idealist perspective, where or pragmatic, I suppose. The second that something is no longer useful to you, you move on. It's also a narcissistic trait. People who are egomaniacs and think, what can this person do for me? And if you can't do anything for me, then you have no value. But that all starts to change once he loses. And on his way back to planet Namek, that is when his character arc begins. And prior to that, he was just like the opponent for Goku, right? This new wall for Goku to climb over. But once he loses, he has to look within. He has to change, and we see that happen when he puts down the Scouter on Namek, which we can get to in detail a bit more once we get to the Namek section. But you can see how much struggle Vegeta is going through, and how much he gets pushed with his battle against Goku, and he even has to transform. Like he says, I do not get pushed to this limit in fighting others, and you're pushing me this hard, but you're still trash. You're garbage that was tossed out of Saiyan society, and I'm going to show you what that means and why I am superior in every way. And there's something that uh, you can never do because you were born weak. You were born inferior to me. And of course, that's the struggle. That's what makes it so interesting, is that Goku still tries, and he has divine martial arts taught to him by Kaio and Popo and Kami and all of these people who raised him to look within and to sense power levels instead of using a scouter and all these other factors that allow him to win the fight. So Vegeta has to face all of that, and it's the complete opposite of everything he was taught prior to that point in his life. So that can also be something that people relate to when they are taught something by their parents or their peers, and then it doesn't work in real life, and they don't understand why, and it's tough because they think, well, that's how I was raised, or that's the way that I my mind works, and then they have conflicts with other people and different cultures, right? East versus West. Vegeta represents the alien who literally comes from outer space, while Goku represents the Earthling, and he's a East. Goku's an Easterner. Vegeta is a Westerner in the sense that he's a foreigner. He's from outer space. He's alien. He's science based. Technology. You are in the Scouter. Hard numbers that are fixed. Whereas Goku, he has the same genetics, but because he's raised different on Earth, he's an Easterner and he has a holistic mindset. Numbers are not fixed. He works with other people to overcome greater challenges. And that even goes into their techniques, where Goku's techniques are written in hiragana and kanji, and Vegeta's techniques are written in katakana, which is the foreign script in Japanese they use for foreign loanwords from English and French and Italian, Portuguese, like Big Bang Attack and Final Flash. Those are written in
English
katakana.
words.
Yes. So Toriyama put all of this into Vegeta's character in order to make him contrast against Goku. And of course, that makes it so fascinating when Vegeta ends up with Bulma, who is a Westerner. And then Trunks shows up and all this other stuff that happens, which we can get into soon.
Yeah, Vegeta, I love that. Well, Vegeta is the ultimate Nepo baby, except in a much more sociopathic way. As you said, when he kills Nappa, which I did show on the stream a moment ago, which I can always pull it back up again. He just doesn't care. Like like this is a guy who's known him his entire life, and Vegeta just wipes him out without thinking twice. And people will look at that and say, yo, this guy was like, and we really see it more in the Bardock special, which obviously that was not written by Toriyama, but Toriyama did comment positively on it. But oh, by the way, I forgot to show you. I'm wearing the Birdland Press shirt. Actually, a subscriber made this for me, and that was real cool. In case you missed it, y'all, Birdland Press is Akira Toriyama's fan club from the 80s and 90s. And Derek, like a couple years ago, I think it was a couple years ago, got his hands on a bunch of the Birdland Press. What would you call them? Like pamphlets or like mini magazines?
Yeah, they're like booklets, kind of. They're like this, but I can go get them if you want me to show them again.
Mm.
There's 25 of them in total, and they
You
came
got all
out
25?
No, I have 9 of them. For starting with number 15, which is when Dragon Ball premiered on November of 1984.
84.
And then it continues up until about the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, I want to say. So it was a monthly thing. And there's a lot of cool stuff in there about Akira Toriyama's personal life, but it also goes into the origin of the series and things that have never been published anywhere else. And I asked the Japanese if I could have the rights to publish them in English, and they said, no, we're not interested at this time.
Of course they
Yeah,
said
which
no.
is
When do they ever say
madness, because they've never published it anywhere else, and everybody wants them. But did you know that there's a Birdland Press 2.0 that has come out? And
recently?
it's made by fans in Spain who love Dragon Ball, and they are on, I think, the 3rd issue. They just released the cover art for it, and it's like the Birdland Press from the early 1980s, but they've recreated it, and they interviewed Akira Toriyama's assistant, Matsuyama, and they brought him to Spain for a convention. I think it was in Barcelona, and he was the featured guest. So those guys in Spain, they love Dragon Ball, and especially the original. So check out Birdland Press 2.0. It's a free PDF. You can download it. It's all in Spanish, but you can use, online translators, and you can read it. And it's got a lot of cool stuff in it. And I applaud them for their effort and the production value of what they've made.
I didn't even know they existed. You just told me. So that is very cool. By the way, we do have 8 super chats. We'll get to them here in just a minute. This one, this is not a super chat. Let me guess. It's based off of Bird Studios. Brother, my brother in Christ, as they say, Akira Toriyama. The name Toriyama translates to Bird Mountain. That's why it's Bird Studios. That's why Toriyama draws himself as a bird with a giant pencil. And that's why there's Birdland Press, because his name literally translates to Bird Mountain. It's not just some random Japanese name with, random syllables. But Vegeta is basically Toriyama's grand Nepo baby. Spoiled his whole life, told his whole life that he's the greatest everything, and sees other people, as Jordan pointed out earlier, as being beneath him. Everyone who's not as strong as him has no value to him at all. And then he runs into Goku. And the reason as to why Vegeta views Goku different than even Frieza is because of the Saiyan blood and Saiyan heritage. Vegeta views Goku as, there's no way this guy's on my level because of my race. The guy who I'm the prince of. Nobody can screw with me. And then here comes Goku. And actually, let me see if I can get it pulled up, because there's actually a really, really, really important, very important piece of dialogue that I want people to get it. Let me see. I'm trying to make it so that Derek can be on because I had it a minute ago. Hold on. I'm trying to get it so that Derek can be on because I had it a minute ago, I swear, while the 3 of us are so we can all look at it, but it's being difficult right now. Like it's like it only shows me and Jordan, but I also wanted Derek to be on. I don't want my face there. This thing, what a pain in the ass. Oh, this thing is dumb. Actually, there might be a way. See, that still doesn't do it. Okay. This thing's being dumb. All right. Let me just show the manga panel briefly. We won't take up too much time. Right here, Vegeta says, after a Saiyan is born, their battle aptitude is put to a test. Those scum who score poorly are shipped off to planets with the weakest inhabitants, like you were, which is something Raditz brings up. And this is right here, the story of Goku and Vegeta. If someone were to say, can you summarize the Vegeta character arc and Goku and Vegeta's relationship, can you summarize it into one scene or one piece of dialogue? It's right here. It's right here. Maybe an outcast can surpass an elite if he puts his mind to it. And as a result, I was sent to Earth. I'm grateful that I wound up here. I know I read that wrong. It should be right to left. But the point is, Goku straight up tells him right here on the left, maybe an outcast can surpass an elite if he puts his mind to it. That is the story of Goku and Vegeta right there. Doesn't matter what you were told your whole life. It doesn't matter if you think you're better than me. You're not, because I worked my ass off for years and years and years to overcome you. And Vegeta can't handle that, because after being essentially brainwashed by his parents into thinking he's superior to others, Goku's the first one who kind of knocks some sense into him.
Yeah, can I tell you why this whole early section of the story is so fascinating to me?
And it's also of course you can, but I just wanted to add, this is why when people disparage Toriyama as a writer or Dragon Ball as being simple, it makes me, the first thing that pops in my head is, no, Dragon Ball is not simple. You're just an idiot. Like, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, it's not Toriyama, it's you. You know what I mean? And you know how they say, you ever think that maybe it might be you and not everybody else? That's how I feel when people say that Dragon Ball and Toriyama are lazy or bad writers. It's really annoying. I think everybody on this show can agree. But yeah, bro, go ahead. And then we'll get to some super chats. Then we'll keep going.
Well, it comes back to Vegeta's pride. Um, but one of the things that Goku or the one things that people ignore about Goku is the fact that he has his own sense of pride. And what's really interesting about Vegeta killing Nappa is that it's not just because he's weak in terms of power level, it's because he's weak in terms of adhering to this idea of Saiyan pride. The fact that Nappa was willing to beg Vegeta for help is something that Vegeta would be disgusted by naturally, because to him that's not prideful. And what I find really interesting about, the early developments with Goku and Vegeta is that Goku, I don't know if you remember this, but when Goku was fighting Piccolo at the end of the original Dragon Ball, he let Piccolo hit him because he found it unfair that Kami stepped into the match and interrupted it, and he wanted the match to be fair. That is a side effect of Goku's pride as a Saiyan. Goku is literally willing to endure pain as a side effect of his pride as a martial artist. So, and that comes from the fact that he is a Saiyan and he has a strong inherent sense of pride. Now, Vegeta is disgusted with Nappa because he showed weakness in begging Vegeta for help and, losing to Goku and everything else. But what I find very interesting about that is that Vegeta also, in the end, ends up turning tail and running when Goku just wants to fight him again. And that's one thing that people kind of overlook about Goku and Vegeta's relationship is that Goku.
When did he run? You said he ran away?
Vegeta, when he got in his ship and ran?
Oh, yeah, but that was after he was almost dead.
Yeah, I know, but that's still against his ideology as a Saiyan. You're not supposed to run ever. You're not supposed to get in a ship and run and take off. That's a sign of weakness.
I thought you were talking about like way later. I understand.
No. If Vegeta saw any other Saiyan climbing in a Saiyan pod because they had lost a fight on Earth, he would kill them. He would see it as a sign of weakness, and he would be like, "No, you're not adhering to the idea of Saiyan pride that I think we should, as a species, adhere to." He would look down on you for that. And Goku repeatedly shows that due to the fact that he has the pride of a martial artist, he doesn't run away. There's things that he does that are definitively more akin to Vegeta's subconscious idea of Saiyan pride than even Vegeta's pride that he has himself. So that's something that I think is really fascinating about Goku and Vegeta's relationship, especially early in the series, is that Goku is sort of, in a sense, showing Vegeta a sense of pride that he's lacking and that he doesn't have. So,
Derek, do you agree with that?
Well, there was a pivotal moment in Vegeta's life when he did have to run away, for sure. He mentions it again and again that he had to. He was spared by Krillin holding Yajirobe's sword to his neck. Could have killed him. And that was a wound to his pride.
And Goku's the one that wanted him to be spared.
Yeah, right. And the fact that Kakarot, a low-level, discard, would spare him, of all people, is a slap in the face. And the physical stuff he heals from, but the physical is just the daily part of his existence, and it's something he's used to. It's like a MMA fighter, they get punched in the head and it doesn't matter. They just keep fighting. But it's the emotional wound that does the most damage. And that's what takes them a long time to recover from. So, and that's true in real life too. We heal from our physical wounds, but it takes us a long time to heal from our emotional wounds. And everybody's been through that. So that makes him also more relatable. Goku is like, he's the opposite. When he's a kid and he gets his tail cut off by Yamcha and Puar as an Ozaru, he notices his tail fell off because he fell over because he didn't have any balance. And he looks at it and he goes, "Oh well, no big deal. That thing that's been a part of my body my entire life is gone now. That's fine." And he laughs it off. And it's the same for a lot of other things that happen in his life. He rolls with the punches and the emotional damage, and he keeps moving forward as if nothing happened. But Vegeta gets fixated on the fact that he lost the fight and that his life was spared. And this becomes the core of his identity. And then when he gets onto planet Namek, we hear about the legendary Super Saiyan, which is something that he was taught growing up, and he believed he was. And it was only a matter of time until he awakened and proved that he was the strongest in the universe. So again, like Goku didn't have any of that, but Vegeta, this was pushed into Vegeta's mind. So that's another emotional wound. Like he's the legendary Super Saiyan, but he lost to a discard. And that really motivates him to work even harder and to look within and figure out how he can become stronger. So that's something that people can relate to again when they are struggling and they've tried to be successful and they haven't achieved what they think they're capable of. Then they look to Vegeta and they go, "Oh, yeah, he had the same thing." And it kept happening to him. It happened to him on Namek. It happened to him when he was fighting the artificial humans. Like that time when he's standing on that sort of cliff and Trunks is standing behind him, looking at him, and Vegeta is staring up at the sky. And he stands there for like 3 whole days, maybe at least
Yeah, I think
three.
it was 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just staring,
Almost like
trying,
catatonic.
trying to find an answer to this problem of how to become stronger and to reach the next level. That is so relatable to anyone who has pride in their work and is still struggling. They're putting out quality content, but they're not getting the success that they think that they're due, especially if they think that if they're gifted in some way. Like maybe you're a talented musician, or you're good at linguistics, or you're more intelligent than your peers, or whatever it might be, but you're still not at the place where you think you should be. That's a pain that uh, you see in Vegeta. That I keep using the word struggle, but it's like constant forbearance and endurance and perseverance in the face of what he views as failure, despite the fact that he is one of the strongest beings in the universe at that point. He still thinks of himself as a failure compared to others. And that's another thing that Vegeta does is he often compares himself to other people, whereas Goku compares himself to himself, and he looks to others as a way of acknowledging that there's a higher level, but then he fights them in order to conquer himself so that he can rise up to that level within himself. Whereas Vegeta, he makes it to the next level and then he sees somebody who is superior to him and he gets angry about it because he's comparing himself to them and he gets frustrated, and then he goes through this process of introspection, of looking for an answer, of training super hard, going through tremendous pain in order to reach that next level. And then when he does, and he feels like he's number one, that's when he has absolute pride in himself all over again. And he's an amazing, super awesome, ultra confident badass who just acts like there's nobody who can stop him, and he will blast through anyone in his way. But then, of course, he hits the wall again and has to go through this process all over again. So that's the cyclical process that Vegeta goes through in his character arc. And I talk about it in my Dragon Ball Culture books, especially in Volume 3. It's this Japanese concept called Shugyo, which is austere training. And it began in the training arc with Goku and Krillin when they're training with Master Roshi. That Shugyo mentality was taught to Goku and Krillin, but it carries throughout the entire series with all of the characters who are martial artists. They go through this cyclical process where it's like um, in the West, we have this education system where you go through kindergarten or preschool, and then you go to 1 through 5, and then like 6 through 8, and then 9 through 12, and then maybe you go on to higher education with a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD. But after that, you're done. Your education is final. Like at whatever level you stopped at, most people do not go back to school once they become adults. But in the East, they have this Shugyo mentality, it's austere training, and it lasts for your entire life. In whatever pursuit or path you go down that path for your entire life. For example, being a swordsmith. If you want to build katanas, like be a blacksmith in Japan, you have to be a disciple for 10 years. And then you start working on the swords. And then you end up owning the shop. And then you start training other disciples. But that entire time, your whole life, you're still building swords. And you're always looking for ways to make better swords. Your education never stops because the people who request swords are different people, different customers you have to deal with, the metals you're using, the techniques, all of these things. It's a continual learning process. That's the Shugyo mentality, and it's the same thing with being a florist or learning archery or making kimono or whatever it might be. That mentality of Shugyo is carried with you your whole life. So there's a contrast here. And I think that's fascinating that all of this culture gets put into Dragon Ball and we can learn from it through the characters that Akira Toriyama gave us.
And there's a reason as to why you've done so much writing and you're not done yet, because there's still things that, and I can relate to you in the sense of somebody who makes videos. There's a lot of stuff on this channel that I have not talked about. There's a lot of little things about Dragon Ball that are ideas that haven't been made into videos yet. You know, Dragon Ball culture is up to 7 volumes, but you haven't even cracked the code of Z yet. That's still to come.
Right.
This book has Z in it, but which, by the way, in the description, there's a link for y'all to pick up this book directly from Amazon. It supports Derek. And it's also a good read. Like I said, it's an easy read. It's very short. And it goes into it. There's a lot packed into this. You know what I'm saying? Including some of the stuff you said. Mm-hmm.
Also, I want to mention it's available in Spanish and in French and in Italian, in paperback and hardback and ebook.
Are you working on a Japanese translation? Because you figure they might want to buy it, you know?
Yeah, of course. I would love to. The issue is I need the money to do it because the Japanese is more expensive. It'll probably cost me about $5,000 to do a Japanese translation. Yeah, it's
that
tough.
Is a lot.
The Romance languages are a lot less expensive. And you need someone who understands Dragon Ball. So, like, yeah, I could use online translations, but first of all, they'd be crap. And second, they wouldn't get the nuances of the Dragon Ball lore. So you got to find someone who really cares about Dragon Ball and grew up with it and is committed to making it a great translation for fans. So if you guys are out there and you speak fluent Japanese and you want to work with me, then go ahead and reach out. Follow me at Derek Padula and reach out to me, and maybe we'll end up working together.
Yeah, I hope so, because there has to be an audience out there, especially older people who remember the original manga. You know, maybe some of them haven't even looked at Dragon Ball in a long time. It's just funny to me because, like, and this is a juxtaposition of cultures. I have seen a lot of Japanese and talked to a lot of people that are Japanese that either live in Japan or they used to, and they're either our age group or older. And when I say that manga is bigger in Japan, like, you know, people are hyped up over Dragon Ball's anime coming back with Dragon Ball Super Beerus and Dragon Ball Super The Galactic Patrol. There are people in Japan who have never watched any Dragon Ball anime. They've only read the manga. I met an RPG, a gamer who's older than me. And he's like, yeah, I used to read that manga. And I'm like, did you ever watch the anime? He's like, no. Like, there's manga only people in Japan. And you know what I mean? Like, obviously, Derek, you know this because you understand Japan's how massive manga is over there. But if you were to tell an American or even a Latin American fan, there's Dragon Ball fans that have only read the manga. It's almost like a different planet.
Yeah, that's funny because Torishima-san, Akira Toriyama's editor, he's active now on social media after Akira Toriyama died. Kazuhiko Torishima started his own X channel, and he has some strong opinions even now.
Yeah.
And he is vocal about the fact that in the West, people don't read as much. They watch the anime, and he said about a week ago that he said, "Don't even talk to me unless you've read the Dragon Ball manga 10 times from beginning to end, because I if you don't have the reading comprehension that is needed to understand Dragon Ball, then I don't even care about your opinion."
Yeah.
And that's like, yes.
I relate
But at
to
the
that
same time,
sentiment a lot.
Jordan was very happy when he made that comment.
Yeah.
I just laughed. I just thought it was funny. I don't take those things personally. He is kind of a curmudgeon.
It's a stark contrast from there's nothing you can learn about Dragon Ball or learn from Dragon Ball. You know what I mean? Which is something that he had said previously, is that there's nothing you can learn from it. That's what I like about it. Is like it's a stark contrast to that. Instead of him being like, oh, there's no substance to this, he's actually having to go in the opposite direction and be like, actually, there's so much substance that not even everybody can pick up on it. So
that's a great point.
I enjoyed that thoroughly.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is man, y'all are special today in the chat. Guys, I know that Herms is a very skilled translator, and Derek knows that as well. I want you to understand, if it were that easy, Herms would have already done it. This book is Derek's shortest book, but guess what? Spoiler alert, it's still a book. Herms translating this entire book will take some time. So it's not like he can just quickly translate a Shonen Jump article or like an interview with Toriyama that's like 1 page long. There's still a lot packed in here. And yeah, Herms would be perfect for it. But if that were the case, then it would have probably already been done. So just understand that.
Well, Herms in particular, and all the Kanzenshuu guys, the one who's helped me the most has been Saya Jedi, Julian Grabowski.
Yeah.
He's great. He answers my emails. He's supportive. He educated me on a lot of things. And so I asked him if he wanted to work on it, and he said he didn't think he was fluent enough in Japanese, despite the fact that he lives there and has a Japanese wife and family. And it's like, okay, if he's not qualified, I gotta keep looking,
But you know damn well he is qualified. He's either being humble, or he's doing the girl that says I have a boyfriend but doesn't. Like, he's probably thinking, okay, I don't know if I'm ever gonna have time. But the bottom line is, whether they decide to do it for free or whether you raise the funds to actually have the translation done, it's still a lot of work. So, but it needs to be done at some point. And I hope that it does, just because I think the Japanese would really dig into it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, Ryo Horikawa wrote the foreword to the English version.
And that's already a big deal. That's a huge deal.
That was massive for me when he did that. I met him at Anime Expo, and it was exciting because I drove all the way there from Fresno, through the traffic, through the mountains and everything, to get to the convention center. And the traffic was madness. And I'm like, oh man, I don't want to miss him. I parked like as far away as you can. I ran all the way there. I get through the security. I go through, the convention. I'm like, where is he? Where is Ryo Horikawa? I'm running through it, and I get there, and I see him. Like, oh, that's Vegeta. And I approach, and then they take out the velvet rope, and they put it right behind me in the line, and I was the last person
that's crazy
into the line to see him. And so I had more time with him than other fans did. So I was able to speak with him, and I asked him, I'm writing this book about Vegeta and Goku and their psychology and what they mean to fans. And I said, would you write the forward? And right away he said, yeah, I would love to, without any hesitation. And I was blown away. So I said, all right, well, can I ask you a couple questions? And he said, sure. And this is all through his translator, but he also speaks basic English, so he can understand what I was saying. And you've met him, Danny, at Command Con and others. Like you've seen him speak English and say it's over 9,000 and all that stuff. But I asked him, why do you think Vegeta is such a transformative figure in people's lives, and what is it about Dragon Ball that people gravitate to, and why is it still so popular? And he said, I think it's like the Bible. He said, I think it's a way for people to look at life and at themselves. And I end up putting that in the It's Over 9,000 book. And that simple statement, that in his view, Dragon Ball is like the Bible.
But
well, it is,
but
of course, then we get into a whole debate about what the Bible means and how, whether Dragon Ball is the same and all this stuff. But the fact that the voice of Vegeta said that really struck my soul.
Yeah, but really, bro, who cares? Because Luffy 47 says that it's not that deep, and that Dragon Ball was written by a lazy man, and that it has no story. So who gives a shit? Because fucking Sasuke 4225 on Twitter says that Dragon Ball is not deep, and no. What do I know? It ain't like I devoted my whole life to this shit just like you did. No, but Dub Fan 44 Falconer Boy 6702, he knows what he's talking about. Yeah. Anyways, I'm being sarcastic, but that is shit that you see all the time. So first of all, let me ask you one last thing before we move on with Vegeta. Have you met Nozawa yet? I think you did, right?
Oh yeah, I did.
That's
man,
right. Yeah, that's a big.
That was one of the greatest moments of my life.
That's what I would say if I had met her. Dude, yeah. I'm so scared I won't be able to.
And I met her. Where was it? It was at Raleigh, North Carolina, at Animazement for the Battle of the Gods premiere. When that came out, a lot of the Japanese voice actors and English voice actors got together in Raleigh, and I got them to sign my book and to pose in front of it, and I used that one. That's if you go to my X account at Derek Padula, my top pinned picture is Masako Nozawa holding my book. It's Over 9,000 book, signed by all the Dragon Ball voice actors, and I have that. I still have that right next to me, actually, right down here. It's a prized possession that I will never sell, even though it's probably worth over $9,000. I will not sell it because it means so much to me.
I don't blame you. And the thing is, I knew that you had met her. I just didn't know it was that long ago. Like in my head, I thought maybe it was, just a few years ago, like prior to the pandemic, but all the way when Battle of Gods came out, I mean, that was like a lifetime ago. So,
yeah. And it was amazing when she walked in. She's tiny, but in your head, you're thinking, that's Goku. Like, oh my goodness. And then she gets up on the stage, and she's smiling and waving to everybody, and then she leans into the mic. She goes, "Oh, Ora Goku," and you're like, "Oh, Goku is in this room with me," because in your brain, you've had that voice pushed into your brain so many times for so many years. Now that voice is talking right to you. It's like it was an incredible feeling that I will never forget, and I'm so lucky and blessed to have met her.
I envy that position for sure. And I will say that last or 2 weeks ago during the event, Denki Damasuri event, I said that she's the most energetic and healthy 89-year-old I've ever seen. Like, she's a freak of nature.
Yeah, she is.
She may actually live to be 120. Like, I actually would believe that with her.
Yeah, she said she wants to do that and keep playing Goku all the way.
Yeah. Right. Now, we got some super chats I want to get into, and then I want to get into the Namek saga, because the thing about Vegeta, right? I want to get this out of the way real quick about Vegeta. I got into a discussion / argument with somebody on Twitch once. Not a bad guy, just I think misinformed. And he's like, isn't Vegeta alpha? And his examples of Vegeta being alpha is his speeches and his trash talk. Look, we can all agree that Vegeta is great at talking trash. He's probably the best character in the series when it comes to talking trash, but also so is Goku, especially if you watch it in Japanese, because Nozawa's got some zingers as Goku. But the thing that makes Vegeta interesting, this is to me, like, if you really want to sort of make it, if you want to make it as simplified as possible, it's actually the opposite. Vegeta's not alpha. In fact, Vegeta's a beta male the entirety of Dragon Ball until the Buu Saga, when he gives the Goku your number one speech. That's when the character arc was complete. Vegeta is constantly envious of anybody else, even Trunks at one point, because he did Super Saiyan, especially Goku. And for his whole life, he's living in Goku's shadow instead of just being himself and accepting the reality of things. And yes, it drives him. He's a very driven guy, and we can respect that. He's also constantly crying about other people being past him, and constantly, like all the time. And so he's actually not an alpha. He's an alpha in Super. And that's one of the things I do like about Dragon Ball Super is, contrary to what you may read on the internet from so-called experts, Vegeta's character in Super does not regress. When Vegeta is holding Bra/Bulla in that episode of Super, and he's like, don't get near her, there is no way that the Vegeta from Z would ever do something like that. There is no way that the Vegeta from Z would ever tell Frieza to his face, Kakarot motivates me. I kind of need him in my life. There is no freaking way. So anybody who says Vegeta regressed in Super, I question their understanding of the character. But we are here, the three of us, to discuss, to actually talk about the real Vegeta and what really happened. And that's a big part of it. Okay, let's get through these real quick. Xavier says, I personally preferred Prince Vegeta as an anti-hero. I believe in my heart of hearts, the reason why Vegeta became the most popular character in Dragon Ball in the West is not because of the fight with Goku, even though that's a great fight. It's because of how awesome he was in the Frieza saga, because he's the anti-hero. He's killing Kui, Dodoria, Zarbon, toe-to-toe with the Ginyu Force. Like, he's really, it's a glimpse of him being on the good side, even though he's not a good guy by any means. And I
he's
think
a villain towards villains.
He's an anti-hero.
He's a villain towards villains. Yeah, I think that's consistent, though. I don't think that ever changes. I think the reason people like to pretend that Vegeta regressed is because he is consistently a villain towards villains. But that's not due to him regressing. That's due to him just having a different ideological facing than Goku. He's not Goku. Like, he doesn't have the same philosophy as Goku. So he's always going to be villainous towards villains. Like, that's kind of his thing.
He's not Goku, but one of the things I love about this freaking series, I'm going to get passionate here, is Goku constantly is changing people. Constantly. And they talk about it. It's not even like a secret. Anybody who comes into contact with Goku changes. But Vegeta also changes Goku. Not entirely. Not into a whole different person. But they both sort of learn from each other. And that's why they work so well in Dragon Ball Super as being the 1 and 1A. That's why every major story arc in the Super era is Goku and Vegeta. Goku's still the main character, but Vegeta is the other main character. And I think it works because them working together in the Buu Saga to close out the original Dragon Ball manga, not the end of Z stuff before that, and then getting into Super, it's almost like the Majin Buu Saga. And Toriyama did not intend this. It just happens to work out this way. It's almost like the Majin Buu saga is a preview of what Super would be, which is Goku and Vegeta working together. And Jordan and I went into extreme detail on this in the Ultra Ego video we did. Derek, I have more super chats, but before we get to them, I want to get your thoughts on Vegeta's, like, on what I just said about Vegeta and how he's essentially like a envious beta for the old series, but in Super he changed. Like, do you think he regressed? Then the second question is, have you thought about going back and re-releasing a revised version of this book with the new stuff, with what Vegeta did in Daima, in Super? Like, has that crossed your mind?
Yes, it has. I'd like to do a Super Saiyan edition where on the cover art I changed them to have Super Saiyan hair, and then
But
go
the
into Super
figures.
and Daima, because he does continue to change. And while you could argue the bulk of Vegeta's character arc occurs in the Z era, the foundation that is laid in that continues to be built upon like a pyramid in Super and in Daima. And Toriyama, of course, wrote all of the Dragon Ball manga, so that's where the bulk of the depth occurs. But the writers in Super and Daima can take Toriyama's ideas and build upon them. So we continue to see him change. And I think it's, again, what I call Toriyama's rule of opposites at work, where it starts with Vegeta is the opposite of Goku, this contrast. But then they continue to interact with each other. And Vegeta talks about the legendary Super Saiyan, this source of pride, this history, this lore, and he teaches Goku about who he is. Raditz arrived on Earth and he told Goku who he was, but he didn't teach him anything. He gave him this ultimatum where you do this or you die, and Goku chose to fight him and he ended up dying. But Vegeta ends up explaining who Saiyans are through his actions and through this story about the legendary Super Saiyan. And Goku doesn't understand it all, but he does see who Vegeta is through his actions. And he realizes this is something good. Whatever is at the real heart of this is good, because Vegeta is fighting for something. And he might be fighting for himself, but at the same time, he kept my son alive, Gohan, and Krillin was there too, his best friend, and he was fighting against Frieza. So when Frieza kills Vegeta and Goku sees Vegeta die, he inherits that will of the Saiyans, and then he continues to fight against Frieza. And this is this big part of what fuels Goku's transformation when Frieza kills Krillin and he snaps and he finally lets go. Then he becomes 100% Saiyan, right? He goes from Earthling to Saiyan. He travels from Earth to this alien planet Namek. He gets taught by Vegeta. He becomes the legendary Super Saiyan that Vegeta wanted to be and was taught that he was going to be, but he ends up dying instead. Goku inherits the will of the Saiyans and that pride and becomes the legendary Super Saiyan. And Vegeta made that possible, right? Of course, Goku, his entire life led up to that point, but Vegeta gave him the knowledge and the fuel to go to that next level and to ascend. And then Vegeta comes back to life through Goku and his friends. He's brought back to life, which is both a blessing, but also another insult to Vegeta's pride. Like, okay, not only did you spare my life on Earth, but now you've brought me back to life, and now I have to live with that for the rest of my life, and that fuels him onward to an even higher level. So these two characters, they keep spinning around each other like yin and yang, and yeah, like in the comments from Hunter Mahe 3010 says Earthling nature and Saiyan nature. Uh, they are perfect mirrors to one another, and like they both go through that Shugyo spiral together, up and up, to the point where they are interacting with higher level deities and lords of the universe, gods of destruction and angels and all these things. It's because they help one another rise up.
Yeah, and it I love the fact that you said that, bro. I are like, yeah, no, it. And then the funny thing is, at the very beginning of the next arc, here comes Trunks, and Vegeta sees that Trunks can also transform like Goku, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?" He's like, "Wait a minute, and there's another one now," and he feels so left behind that Trunks, in a way, maybe was one of the contributing factors to why Vegeta trained so much harder. Because one of the things about that original timeline, the future Trunks timeline, is that if you watch the history of Trunks TV special, when they show all the Z fighters getting killed, Vegeta is a Super Saiyan. But you don't see that in the manga version, in Toriyama's original version. The reality is, and I cannot prove this because I don't have Toriyama's brain, but I believe that there's a possibility that if Trunks had never gone back in time, Vegeta would have never become a Super Saiyan. He would have kept training, but he might not have pushed himself to those heights because there's no Kakarot, there's no Trunks, and that made it easy for 17 and 18 to pick him off, even easier than it was. That's just a theory. I'm not in any way saying that I'm right about it, but it makes sense. And the anime really expounds upon the fact that Vegeta was losing his mind over being surpassed.
Yeah, he needs a motivator for sure.
Yeah, and something else that Derek brought up earlier on this show, because I want to actually show people this, is this moment right here is literally the beginning of Vegeta's character arc. Yes, obviously Goku, like, what Goku sparing him is what led to this. But as far as a decision that Vegeta made, when he drops this scouter right here, this is the result. This whole panel is the result of Vegeta learning how to sense energy. And that's the first thing that Goku imprinted onto him. Later, we have Vegeta feeling remorse over killing the Mechians, this, that, and the third. But I love that the character arc of Vegeta started right there. And then after that, we saw more. And the thing that trips me out about this is Akira Toriyama was a discovery writer. It wasn't like he had the entire manga mapped out. He didn't know Vegeta was going to turn good in the Buu saga. He didn't even know Vegeta was going to have a kid when he first wrote the Namek saga. Maybe he had the idea in his head, but there's no
He
evidence.
actually intended to kill him off rather quickly. He said that in an interview. He was like, if any of the characters I'm going to kill off quick, it's probably going to be Vegeta. So,
and I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because that interview has led to a lot of misinformation. People, I see it like every few months. Is it true that Toriyama hates Vegeta? No, but Toriyama at one time may have disliked the Vegeta character, but if Toriyama really hated Vegeta, number one, he wouldn't have given him the arc he gave him. And number two, why is it that Vegeta is still the second main character now? It doesn't make sense.
He said he grew on him. He said he grew on him to the point. He said that he grew on him to the point he would like to have given him his own movie. So,
well, Torishima recently said that he wanted that to be the case. That's what led to all those rumors of a fake movie. All right, let's get some of these out of the way here. 227. If I remember correctly, Sun Wukong can clone himself. In my opinion, Goku's final fight should end with him doing the same, each copy using a different form and jumping his OP.
I actually did a fan story a long time ago where Goku fights an adult version of Goku's doll Do you remember Goku's doll from the?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I did I did a fan story a long time ago where like after he's already learned Ultra Instinct and all this stuff, like he makes another one, and I think that's a very similar idea.
I actually love
cool.
this guy's idea in my head visually looks awesome. Like if Goku did this visually, it'd be a cool visual. Derek, what do you think about this idea of Goku learning how to clone himself?
Yeah, well, we saw that with Tenshin Han when he fought Goku in the 22nd tournament.
And later Piccolo did it too.
Yeah, right. So the idea, it comes from Journey to the West, of course, and we also see a similar thing in Naruto with the Kage Bunshin, the shadow clones. All of it comes from the idea of Buddhas who are able to create what's called the law body, a Fa Shun in Chinese, where it's a spiritual but also physical clone of them that lives in another dimension that you can't see, that is sent onto Buddha statues to inhabit the physical body of the Buddha, so that when people perform rites in front of the Buddha statue or do something similar to prayer, uh, that Buddha will hear their prayers and the requests, and then that gets sent back to the original Buddha. So everything that the Fa Shun witnesses, the original Buddha also knows. And a Buddha can create countless Fa Shun and split their bodies and be in multiple places at once. So that's the general idea, but it's then done in a martial arts way where their body splits apart, and it is a physical version that you can see because it's an illustrative medium, so you have to see it, and it can also hit things. You hit yourself with it. So it's an amazing idea to train against yourself. That is a clone of you in every way, same powers and everything. Um, and it would be very in the spirit of Sun Wukong. I don't recall Sun Wukong training with himself in the story. He uses it to fight against demons and things and protect the Buddhist monk on their journey. He can even turn his individual hairs into clones. Like he'll take off a chunk of hair, put it in his mouth, chew it, spit the hairs out, and every one of those tiny hairs becomes one of him. And
Like
same thing with
Majin
his
Buu.
staff. Yeah, you can. Yes, it's the same idea. There's the particles of a being that are the entire being. Each one of those particles is the image of that being, and is controlled by the principal being, just like we control our bodies. So if we had another version of ourself out there, we would be in control of that self because our main consciousness uh, is the one that's making all of that happen. And of course, that's what we see in the show too. They can bring their clones back into their body, and then that other self is no longer outside; it's now inside, right? And it's not like they have multiple selves; it's just that same self that's out. So it gets really metaphysical and fascinating. So it'd be cool for them to do something like that. Uh, I don't know if they have the same knowledge and awareness of what would go into it to make it true to the lore, but either way, it'd be neat to see.
Right. I think the closest thing to that we've gotten was Goku Black.
In the manga?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I think he's referencing the 6-ear macaque, which isn't necessarily Sun Wukong. It's like a different aspects of Sun Wukong's character. I think that's what they're talking about in terms of like Sun Wukong training with himself. He wasn't training with himself. He was actually trying to destroy a part of himself whenever he was fighting the 6-ear macaque. But anyway, I think the closest thing to that we ever got was Goku Black. I mean, he is a doppelganger. He copies all of Goku's abilities. Like it's a very, very similar thing, you know.
Right. All right. The Gohan of Crunch, you guys are awesome. Dr. Geekdom. Are you calling me a doctor? Or I don't know. He says, will you guys do a Gohan after this? I think his story is interesting, and he's my favorite character. Vegeta's dope too. I don't know about that. I'll have to think about it, because the reason as to why I even decided to do Vegeta and I asked them to come to do it is because of how popular he is and how his character arc is the one that people oftentimes get wrong. Like, I've been in this community now. I lurked for a long time, but I have read comments for 30 years, bro. And a lot of people get the Vegeta arc wrong. And that's why this stream exists. So Gohan's arc is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to answer that by saying maybe. Great say a geek. Just ordered a copy. Okay, that's good. I'm glad you got a copy of Derek's book. I love what you guys do. Thank you for teaching me so much about Dragon Ball. I wanted to tell you also, even if Derek is going to be here for like 5-6 hours, I'm not saying you will be. I'm saying, even if you were, it's still not the same as reading the book. It's still not the same as reading the book, because there's so much more in there, And again, it's one of the shorter books.
Yeah. Thank you for your support, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much. On his behalf. Gabby says, "Oh, thank you for listening to me." I don't know. Not the biggest fan of Vegeta at all, but always loved Horikawa's performance. Easily my favorite aspect of that character. He's not my favorite character, even though at one time he was. But his arc is I think objectively good.
Yeah, and check out Real Horikawa on social media. He plays the character of Vegeta still. Like he announces every one of his posts on X. It's like, hey, you listen to me, I'm Vegeta, and then he'll say something. So if you love Ryo Horikawa, go follow him. He does a lot of cool things.
Yeah,
And he's still a
awesome.
big voice actor in Japan, and he teaches voice acting lessons. And you can go there and learn how to be a Seiyu, a Japanese voice actor. And I helped coordinate a meetup between the Italian voice of Vegeta and the Japanese voice of Vegeta. It happened a few months ago. The Italian voice of Vegeta, Gianluca Iacono, said he got a deal to be like a promoter of a Italian tour guide company, and he said, "Can you help me meet Ryo Horikawa?" So I did. I connected him with his agent and Ryo, and they went to Tokyo and they went to his voice acting class. And they did all these videos and pictures and everything, and he was thrilled by it. And Gianluca gave him some DVDs of his Italian performance as Vegeta, and then they went out to dinner, and he said it was like one of the highlights of his life because he got to meet a fellow Vegeta who had gone through the same struggles that he did of playing this character and growing over time and learning more about himself and going on this introspective journey as an artist, playing this character who is a martial artist who goes through this introspective journey. So it was a profound moment in his life, and I was glad to have been a facilitator of that.
Well, obviously, that's awesome. He also met Sabat and Drummond at Command Con 1. So that means that he's met 4 Vegetas. That's cool, but it makes me wonder, I wonder if he's met any other ones that we just don't know. Like the Greek one or there's so many, bro.
The Spanish.
Yeah, and unlike Nozawa, he actually does travel over here more often than she does. Yeah, Renee Garcia and Horikawa would be great to see. 227, do Goku and Vegeta see each other as friends at all? I think deep down inside now, in the Super era, I do think that Vegeta sees Goku as a friend, but he'll probably never admit it. So,
yeah, especially at that extra bonus scene when Goku was fighting against Vegeta during the Broly. I mean, and I'm sorry, the superhero film, where it was mostly about Gohan and Piccolo, but then Goku and Vegeta were still training.
The sparring, yeah.
Yeah, and then that final scene, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it yet, but
I would hope they have, but yeah. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they probably have, but I still don't like spoilers. Where Goku smiles, he has that knowing smile, and it's like, oh, did he do that on purpose? Because he's Vegeta's friend, and he wanted to give him, like a good job, buddy, kind of a thing. And that's when you see that relationship.
Yeah, and I think Goku is way less insecure about it than Vegeta is. Like Jordan said earlier, Vegeta changed, but he didn't entirely change. He's still himself. Wisco Dippers, was this a dub change when Vegeta tells Goku in the Buu Saga speech that he was born with a talent far beyond his own? I don't remember him saying that in the manga. Do any of y'all remember him saying that in the manga?
No.
Yeah, that might have been a dub line. Because I don't remember him saying that because it was actually the opposite. Vegeta's the one that was born with all the talent. Goku just worked hard to get there. So it would actually be the other way. 227060. Why do so many people dismiss Dragon Ball as having little depth?
It's because it's the greatest shonen battle manga of all time. And
you think that's why? Because more casuals?
Yeah, I think there's so many people who were introduced to manga and anime in particular through Dragon Ball that and the way it was marketed, they see the explosions and all of the commercials and trailers and things, and it's like, okay, it's action, it's superficial, it's screaming, it's all these punches and things. And kind of like what Torishima said, like, you got to read the manga 10 times before you can even talk to me, son. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, the more you get into it, the deeper it gets. And if you've only experienced bits of the anime, or even full credit to you if you watch the full anime, because it's several hundred episodes long. 153 for Dragon Ball, 291 for Z, 64 for GT, and it keeps going on. That's a lot of work and effort, and I applaud you for it. The manga is even deeper. Go check out the manga, and you'll see the real depth.
Yeah, there's I mean, it's a lot, but it's like it's a lifetime, and literally, like, meaning that a lot of us have been fans since the 90s, and so you're not trying to watch it or read the manga, you just do it because you like it. I mean, like the fans. So forcing yourself to do it is bad. I'm not saying that you should do that, but it's I think people who, and I say this a million times and I will always say it, if all you've seen is the Dragon Ball Z dub and you haven't watched original Dragon Ball, read the manga, or watched the anime in Japanese, you're missing a lot. And that, again, I'm not trying to, this is not about elitism or it's not about any of that. You're objectively, you are missing a lot, and that's, and for some people, they don't care. So that's unfortunate. Sebastian Franson 20. I have to say thank you. I have a disease, a weak body, and sit in a wheelchair. But thanks to my favorite story, Vinland Saga, and thanks to you, I've learned that true strength comes from kindness. Well, first of all, that's kind of you to say. Second of all, I'm sorry to hear about the fact that you have a disease and you're weak, and hopefully medical science in the future will help you. And third of all, Vinland Saga is your favorite story, not Dragon Ball. You know what? If you change that, I don't know, man. Maybe some miracles will happen. I don't know. Do y'all want to add anything to that?
Vinland Saga is good. I have the first volume sitting behind me on a shelf. I enjoy it. It's good.
I've never read it, but I know Black and Fist really wanted me to get into the anime. Like, he was really pushing it. So maybe someday. All right. Is SS2 stronger than grade 3 or equals and just faster? First of all, 227, you're way too smart to be asking a question like this. You are. I'm not going to pick on you. But I am going to give you some homework. I'm going to give you some homework. 2 videos on the channel you need to watch. One is Super Saiyan 2 Explained, the transformation guide. And 2 is in the Dragon Ball Mythbusters series, is Trunks stronger than Gohan in the Cell Saga? Add those to your playlist today, because that's going to give you your answer. Plus, and you'll have a complete understanding of why, with manga panels and anime screenshots. Gal Thiego, what about when Vegeta dies and gave a speech to GK as Goku? I've never heard anybody abbreviate Goku as GK. Before GK facing Frieza, and second, what do you all think about Vegeta giving Goku respect. He's the best. Well, I think we're going to get to that shortly, but what were you going to say?
I was just going to say the speech that Vegeta gives Goku prior to facing Frieza on Namek is very important because it's Vegeta's last-ditch effort to sway Goku into having the type of pride that he has.
Another scene that was butchered by the dub.
Yeah, it's his last-ditch effort to be like, hey, you need to be like me. You need to have pride in my ideas because otherwise, like the Saiyans who were destroyed on planet Vegeta by Frieza, you're just going to die too. It just speaks to how passionate Vegeta was about his ideology, that he legitimately felt that if Goku didn't live up to that ideology, that he would fail. But what's really interesting about that is Goku, ever since he was a kid, he's a Saiyan. He is inherently prideful, but that pride has always been put towards a more productive outlet, and that's martial arts. Whenever Raditz first shows up and he's like, hey, Goku, did you lose your pride as a martial artist? The reason he thinks that is because Goku's pride has been switched towards a different outlet. He has a pride as a martial artist and not as a Saiyan. So when Goku sees Krillin die and he says out loud, I am Son Goku, the legendary Super Saiyan, a Saiyan raised on Earth, what he's essentially saying is, I have the pride of a Saiyan, but my pride is being put to my ideology as an Earthling and as a martial artist. Like, that's what I have pride in, not Vegeta. And then the Cell Saga and the Buu Saga are Vegeta being forced to come to terms with that. Moving into the Buu Saga, Vegeta is starting to have that same sort of pride. Goku is having a very similar effect to him on Vegeta that Grandpa Gohan had on Goku. It's taken a long time because he wasn't a kid who like hit his head or whatever. But Vegeta's character arc in the Buu Saga is about reckoning with the fact that he is subconsciously starting to develop that same sort of pride that Goku had, that caused Goku to care so much about Krillin that whenever he saw him die, he became a Super Saiyan. So that is kind of the foundation of Vegeta's character arc going into the Buu Saga as well. So.
And also remember, he doesn't say Goku's the best. He says he's number one. And that's when the character arc closes, because he finally here's the speech as simple as it can be explained, even though we're not there yet. It doesn't matter because it's all about Vegeta, so we can jump around. When Vegeta says that Goku's number one, people seem to get this wrong, and they get in their heads that this means that Vegeta's going to stop training and that he's always going to be number two. That is not what Vegeta says. That is not what the speech is about. At no point does Vegeta say, oh, I'm done with this. This is why when people say that he regressed in Super, it's like you just don't get it. No, it's you don't get it. When Vegeta says that Goku's number one, he's basically saying that this entire time he's known Kakarot, going back to the beginning of the series of the Z portion, he always was envious and didn't understand how Goku was so powerful despite being a low-class warrior. When he says that Goku's number one, he's basically saying, you are the best in spite of being born weak. You overcame me in spite of what I was told my whole life. It's not, oh, he's always been stronger than me. I'm done. I've given up. That's it. He never says that. Nor does he say you're always going to be stronger than me.
If anything, it's about him recognizing the pride that Goku has and how it is a benefit to his life. Because when he talks about how Goku never killed his opponents because he wanted to surpass them, the reason he brings that up is because that's what Goku does as a side effect of his pride as a martial artist. So really, it's really sort of Vegeta just recognizing that Goku does have pride in himself, but just a different pride in himself in comparison to Goku, or in comparison to Vegeta. So,
Derek, is there anything you want to add to Vegeta's, like what we've been talking about as far as like the speech on Namek versus the speech at the end of the series, and like where Vegeta starts and where he ends up, besides what we already said?
Sure. Well, of course, you can see the contrast between those two. So then you have to ask, well, what changed? What happened in Vegeta's life that made him become a different man? And there are a few factors. The first is that he died because his view of the world, it didn't work for him, and he ran into the brick wall known as Frieza, and he had his spine broken and thrown into a into a dirt grave. So that's a big wake up call. And then he was brought back to life, which is another smack in the face. And then another Super Saiyan shows up, and turns out it's his son, and he didn't even know about him.
He didn't even know.
Yeah, and he missed out on his whole life and all this other stuff. But then, of course, who helped make his son? Well, is Bulma, right? And Bulma is the big figure in his life that helps him transform and become the man that he is today, which is something that happens behind the scenes. We don't see their courtship in the manga. They're just there. And everyone is stunned that Vegeta has been living at the Capsule Corporation headquarters. And Piccolo is the one who hears Trunks say that man over there is my father, right? Because it's got those big ears. He hears it before anybody else. And that's a funny moment. Vegeta doesn't know for a while. And I think, was it like Team Four Star made a bunch of jokes about how like Vegeta was oblivious to the fact that this kid looks like him or something. And it was like fighting on the side of him or whatever. It's kind of funny. But he eventually does accept the fact that he is a father now. And he starts to change. And of course, we see that later in the Majin Buu arc when he sacrifices himself to kill Buu with that kamikaze explosion of his ki, and it's like destroying his entire body in order to save his son's life, and Bulma's, and even Kakarot, right? So that's something that could have only happened to Vegeta by falling in love. And what's so fascinating about Toriyama's way of writing is that he does this to the character, and then he uses it as fuel for the reaching the next level, because Vegeta is now angry about how he's changed. He's upset that he has become weak. Like Jordan was talking about, like he has fallen beneath his own standard of continual ascension and holding himself to higher levels and being hard, right? He's become soft. So it's like I don't know if it's a perfect analogy, but you hear a lot in gangster rap about how you got to be hard on the streets, you got to be tough, you got to kill, you got to do all these things to have your image and pride in yourself and all that stuff. And then that's how you get your street cred. Well, Vegeta did all that, and he was the baddest boy in town, and then he got soft because he fell in love with a woman, and then it's like, oh, I'm no longer the baddest boy in town. I'm being surpassed by this kid. I'm being surpassed by my rival, who's a discard. What has happened to me? I have fallen so far from who I used to be up here. His power level kept rising, but up here, he wasn't good enough. And then, of course, he lets himself be possessed by Babidi and ends up gaining the strength of the Majin. Then Toriyama flips it again, where every other person who's been possessed by a Majin lost control of themselves. Vegeta doesn't, because he has so much pride and so much drive that he manages to maintain control of his body and even push those demons out because he's stronger than this sorcerer. And that is so cool to see, right? And that's where that famous speech comes from. Like, you take my mind and my body, but you'll never take my pride. Like, there's one thing a Saiyan always keeps, his pride in the dub, which is, it's an awesome line. It's the dub, but I love it because it's why every dub fan of Vegeta loves Vegeta. It's been like, yes, you can do horrible things to me. I will suffer, but I still have my pride in myself. That's the source of my strength. So,
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah. No,
so relatable.
and that's the thing is he became civilized. He started a family, and it's funny because once again, like we talked about earlier, well, Vegeta should wish back Planet Vegeta and bring back the Saiyans, and it's like, bro, he doesn't care about the Saiyans. He doesn't give a shit about them. They're all weak. That's why he killed Nappa without giving a shit. And then by the time he starts to like become the kind of person that cares about people, he doesn't care about the Saiyans. All he cares about is his family. And yeah, I think at that point he does view Goku as a friend. Let's not forget that a big turning point for Vegeta's character is when Super Perfect Cell blasted Trunks and Vegeta looked at him puking up blood and shit, and he freaking had that fucking crash out. Like that right there is a scene that showed who Vegeta was becoming little by little. That's why I love his character arc, because Toriyama added to it little by little. Like it's actually mind blowing that that Toriyama had it so well mapped out, even though he didn't have it mapped out. It was like he landed in like the perfect storm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, Vegeta's character arc is a natural conclusion. The way he created Vegeta's character, it's natural conclusionary storytelling. Where Vegeta would go from the time that his character was initially created, is basically something that would happen naturally to a character like Vegeta. So I think that's the reason it comes off like he planned it out, is because it is a natural conclusion to his character. His character conceptually is so cool. His character conceptually from the beginning is so cool and so easy to build upon that it just kind of feels seamless,
Also, Toriyama, like Dragon Ball's got flaws. Objectively, I mean, watch any of Lance's Dragon Ball dissections. He'll point them out to you. But even with all the flaws, it's still a really well-written story, and Toriyama's still a great writer, especially back then. You can make the argument about modern Dragon Ball not being as good, but when he was on, in the trenches, yeah. Xavier says, I don't know, Lord Frieza might be the best trash talker. I disagree with you. I think it's Vegeta, but Cell is also a trash talker, and he's got components of both of them. Maybe what I'll do is I'll make us poll and ask y'all. So, what do y'all have an opinion on that?
Frieza needs to get new material before I can consider him the best trash talker. Well,
Derek, who's the better trash talker, Frieza or Vegeta?
They're both kind of broken records.
Yeah,
I guess that is true.
In the dub, I think Vegeta is, because he trash talks the androids,
Oh yeah.
But then he says things that aren't accurate, like calling them toasters or whatever. Like that.
Yeah.
I like it, but it's a bit inaccurate.
It's inaccurate, but there are cool lines. Like no one's gonna ever dispute that there are cool lines in the dub. It's just I would prefer it to be the act. Honestly, Vegeta having cool lines doesn't bother me. It's the changing of Vegeta's character. That's the part that bugs me. I preferred Piccolo and Vegeta killing. Well, I mean, I get it because it's fun to watch. It's just it would have been a one note thing that would have got old after a while. Gaming Hub UK. All these fans and experts need to live by Toriyama's words. Read the manga thoroughly 10 times. Oh, Torishima's words. Read the manga thoroughly 10 times, start to finish, before giving an opinion. Well, we talked about that earlier. Derek and Jordan talked about it. Maybe you submitted this back then, so I'm just seeing it now. I'm trying to catch up. We got 9 left. Let's go through it quickly. Bob Zor. No offense, and I respect what you're bringing to the table, but do we really think it's this complex and in-depth, or was he just writing a manga?
Both.
It's just
it's both.
It's like, bro, like, listen.
It's both. Toriyama does pride himself on his ability to write a manga that's easy to understand, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have depth if you want to go the extra mile to learn about said depth. I think that's a lot of things. I think that's a lot of things. That's something that a lot of people misunderstand about fiction in general, is that a lot of stories, although simple and easy to understand, have depth. They're not
Let,
separate from each other.
and let me add to that by saying this. I have been in this fucking fandom for 30 damn years, ever since I was 12 years old. I didn't get on the internet until the year 2000, but I've been on reading forums and talking to people about Dragon Ball since then. If I didn't feel like this stream was absolutely necessary, I would never have done it. There are reasons as to why I'm doing this stream. At the beginning of the stream, I said people misunderstand Vegeta. That is objectively a fact. You know how I know? Because these are open and I read what people say. Otherwise, there would be no point. So,
Right.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth mentioning that Akira Toriyama did make it up as he went along, and
still turned out great.
the spontaneity of it gives it a a spirit, an essence to it that makes it feel more human. And of course, the fact that it's built on top of Journey to the West as the foundation for the entire story, which is, you know, the culmination of thousands of years of East Asian culture, coming from India, mixing with China and all that, and then becoming like a Japanese cultural property. There's
Yeah.
spiritual cultivation built into it, right? You cannot pull that out of Dragon Ball. It's at the heart of it. So Toriyama built everything on top of that, and that's why we see so much in it. Now, at the same time, he wasn't trying to teach you a philosophical lesson. He wasn't trying to hit you over the head with psychology, but it's there because Toriyama wrote in a way that was human. Even though it's all about space aliens, it feels human, and I think that's the wonder of Toriyama's genius.
Yeah.
Yes. Made it up as he went along, but it still made sense for the most part. David Kelly, Vegeta's initial reaction after seeing Goku and SSJ for the first time on Namek was one of elation instead of anger. It's anime only, but I like that scene. The confirmation that SSJ is not just a myth and that he was there to witness it. True. I mean, it is a good scene. Again, it's anime only, but I still like it. And I agree. At first, Vegeta is sort of elated that Goku did it because he hates Frieza. Frieza just killed him. Like Vegeta hates Frieza a lot more than he hates Goku. But he's envious of Goku, but he doesn't hate him. But obviously, once Frieza died, Vegeta's whole thing is, well, now I gotta surpass this damn Kakarot. So Bob Zor again, poll on Jordan's internet dropping out time frame. Well, it hasn't happened yet, bro. So you would lose that bet. Xavier says, isn't Raditz losing to Goku and Piccolo really what made Vegeta and Nappa not rely on their scouters anymore? I'm not sensing Yajirobe, but they came to Earth and still used their scouters, bro.
Yeah, I think Vegeta no longer using his scouter is supposed to
Namek.
be. It's supposed to be an indicator that Vegeta is starting to pick up on the spiritual powers that Goku had used on Earth and the benefit of those spiritual powers. So
Yeah, it started when Goku arrived and saved Gohan's life in the nick of time. And then he powered up in front of him and used the Kaioken. And Vegeta realized it's over 9,000. And he realized that the scouters were no longer reliable. You know, he crushes it in his hand because
yeah,
it's a useless trinket at that point. And then when he gets on Namek, that's when he drops it himself, right? Because he had another one that was working, but he chose to let it go. And as everyone knows, when they're struggling to improve themselves, letting go of whatever you're attached to is a necessary step in order to transform yourself.
yep,
And it's hard to do, regardless of no matter what it is. Maybe you have an addiction or some kind of character flaw. Letting go of your habits or what have been taught to you, as in the case of Vegeta and his reliance on the scouter, is difficult and can take some people can do it right away, like Goku. He's quick to enlighten. Vegeta is also quick to enlighten. He's a lot like both of them are like Sun Wukong in that aspect. But other people, it could take them months or years or decades. And there's oftentimes some kind of trigger in your life that makes you say enough is enough. Like maybe you smoke
Rock bottom.
and then you have a kid and you realize I don't want them to inhale my secondhand smoke.
Yeah.
And you put out the cigarette and you throw away the packet and you never smoke again. Or maybe somebody in your life dies and you're shocked, right? You're stunned. And that finality of life forces you to reflect and then make a change. Well, that's what happened with Vegeta. He got beat so hard and his life was spared by these earthlings that he was forced to reflect on how they could be stronger than him. And he realized that they didn't use scouters, they didn't use these externalities, they were internal spiritual warriors. And so, in order to rise up to the next level, he had to become like them. He had to let go of the scouter. And he does that in front of Dodoria, who had a higher power level. You know, he's Frieza's subordinate, like secondhand man. But Vegeta says, no, this is the time. I have to let it go. And that's such an amazing moment and a lesson for everyone who is a Dragon Ball fan to learn from, because that's the moment where you have to choose. Am I going to stop doing this thing that I've been relying on? Am I going to change myself? Can I do it? Can I let go? Because it's scary. It's different than what you've been doing. And it's not always something you could do at the first time, right? Maybe it takes multiple times to work up to that. But Vegeta shows that he did it, and that was when he started to change, and he grew stronger because of it. Oh, you're muted, Danny.
Oh, I'm sorry. My fault. Thank you. My fault. What I was saying was it's funny too because a lot of fans throughout the history of the series, throughout the years, have pointed out that as the series progressed, Vegeta's clothing kept changing. His armor got smaller and smaller, and it's a metaphor for him shedding who he used to be. Him dropping the scouter was the first article of clothing, if you want to call it that. That was like, okay, I'm letting go of who I am. Then the armor got smaller. Then he stopped wearing the armor. Of course, we're talking about the original Dragon Ball, not the movies or Super or Daima, just the original manga. So, yeah, this question doesn't make too much sense because Nappa and Vegeta do use the scouters. Nappa never gave up on the scouters because he never learned how to sense energy, but Vegeta did. And he had the edge against Frieza's forces for that reason. I kind of wish Goku Black used the Kaioken. That's a whole other topic. I don't. By that point, the Kaioken was pretty obsolete. Even though there is obviously Kaioken Blue, and he is a Kaio, we could have seen it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Yeah, it would have been a cool visual. Savior Efong, do you think more will come out 2027? Watch the latest video on the channel, bro, for details on that. Can Random Hero, can Tarble be canon? Your rage bait is not going to work on me, bro. It's not going to work. Gaw says, what about the speech Goku gave Vegeta right before they fuse? That was really special, and Vegeta felt it. Well, which time? Oh, Vegito. Yeah, because he threw it in Vegeta's face. He's like, if you really give a shit about your wife and kid, you need to, like, do this. Yeah, I actually love that part.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That part a lot. All right, thank you for becoming a member. We got 3 more. All right. The Real Collector. When will we hear you sing Chala Chala again? Very soon, bro. On social media, I did Makafushigi Adventure, so you'll hear that one too. Junior Padula, what's a secular song that makes you think of Vegeta? That's an interesting question I wasn't expecting. Also, what is a scene in Super that seemed out of character for him despite his change?
Okay, well, I'm going to take the easy answer here and go with Linkin Park Z in the end because
oh my god, AMV fodder.
Yeah, I know. It's the first one that popped into my head. You made one too?
There's a
way back in 2001, I made an In the End AMV with Premiere 6.0. I lost it years ago, but yes, Linkin Park and Dragon Ball back then. And I mean, you know, same thing with a Slipknot. I felt they rise up in me. Because in the song he says, my turn, what do you say? My hair is gold and sticks straight up, and my eyes turn green. And everybody took that. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I've
Yeah,
actually never heard
Slipknot.
that song. I'm thinking of the one with all the bodies hit the floor.
That one, I made a video with that too.
Yeah, Drowning
I'm
Pool.
so
Yeah.
embarrassed. I'm
Yeah.
so embarrassed. You literally picked
I always
and
think of this
I was a
song.
kid. I mean, go ahead, bro.
I always think of this song called "Pride" by Damage Plan. It's the words in it are all the money in the world. You can't buy my respect. It's just a matter of pride, and that's all I have left. I always think of that whenever I think of Vegeta in a song. It's funny because I made an AMV with that song for Vegeta back in the day too. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah, man, it's like it was like the thing. Okay, Derek, and the second question is also for you. A scene in Super that seemed out of character.
My Bulma. I mean, him screaming "My Bulma," and then everything that led up to that.
The bingo dance.
Yeah, the dancing.
I like
And then,
both
and then
those
there's the
scenes.
scenes where he's trying to cook, and
Yeah.
he's training. He's like cracking the eggs and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Anything that inverted your perception of who Vegeta is like once again Toriyama's rule of opposites at work because you have this image, and then they flip it around, and now he's doing something out of character, but he's still Vegeta. So you're like, okay, well, why is he doing that? It's not just to get a laugh, even though it's funny. It's because he's doing it for himself and for his family and for something bigger, right? Like he's trying to protect his family or take care of them or do something, or lower himself a bit in order to raise himself up later, right? In the long-term growth. So there's always some reason for it, and of course it's silly, and so. But look beyond the silliness. I think that's look beyond that superficial stuff. That's really my message with everything.
Well, yeah, and I personally think that yes, those scenes are uncharacteristic of who Vegeta was. However, I do think that the My Bulma scene is at that point. At that point, I think that it's very much who Vegeta became, and I love that scene because it's something you never would have expected Saiyan or Namek Saga Vegeta to have ever done that.
Yeah.
And we rarely see Bulma getting tagged like that. Like we never see the women getting beat up. So that scene, I mean, I think it's a great scene. It really works as a sequel to when he apologizes to Bulma and Trunks and Kakarot. Like he cares about these people, bro. And seeing the man that Vegeta would become is one of my favorite things about Super. I've said it before, man. Super's got problems. There's a lot of things about Super I don't like, but Vegeta's character is one that I really do like in Super. He might not be as cool with the cool catchphrases or whatever, but that doesn't matter. He's a great character. Last one here, David Kelly. Even being as powerful as he is, I don't think Vegeta ever wanted to wish his people back because of the expectations they would have versus the way he wanted to live his life. Thoughts? I don't think he cared that much about the Saiyans the way people think he did. I think the big problem with Vegeta's character, the big problem is that people are under the impression that he gives a shit about the Saiyans and wants to rule over them. He's dropped all that shit. It's not about them. It's about him. It's about him. And Goku also doesn't care. I think if there was any time at any point that Vegeta would have wanted to do that, he would have done it already. In fact, if you go back to the beginning of the series, Nappa straight up asked Vegeta at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. He's like, if we get those Dragon Balls, should we wish back our people? And he's like, are you crazy? Like, why would we do that? And then Nappa suggests having kids with Earth women. And Vegeta's like, yeah, they get strong, but do you really want a bunch of super strong kids running around? Nappa's like, it's a good point. Like, and then Vegeta even says, he's like, no, I want to wish. He says he wants to wish for immortality so they can fight forever. That's what Vegeta originally says. It wasn't to overthrow Frieza. It was just that. And that's the original Vegeta character until Toriyama added in, Frieza and other aspects. So,
Yeah,
all right.
I do want to comment on just that real quick though,
Oh yeah,
um,
go for it, man.
because it reminded me of when Goku surpassed Kami and won the 23rd tournament, and Kami offered him the role of being Kami, and Goku said no, because I don't want to do all that stuff. I don't want to be a deity standing up there. It'd be boring,
Boring.
right? Just
Yeah.
looking at people. And so then he flew away on the cloud with Bulma, and he said no to becoming a deity, right? So because he wanted to be true to himself. So what I interpreted from David's question was like Vegeta wants to be true to himself. So is it possible that he would not want to wish them back, all the Saiyans, because then he'd have to be a prince? Then he'd have to be
Yeah.
responsible. He'd have to sit on a throne like his dad and do all these courtly affairs and all that stuff.
Yep.
He wouldn't be out there training and fighting. Maybe there's
That
some truth to that, right?
that's why he'll never replace Beerus. He's not gonna leave his family to hang out that tree world. He doesn't want to do that, Neither Goku nor Vegeta want to do that shit. And that's why when I read that, I'm like, do you guys even understand these characters? And I'm not trying to like diss. It's just I've been reading this shit for years now, and that's why we're even doing these streams, because people don't understand these characters. There's no way Vegeta and Goku want to become like have the responsibility of being like a king or like a god of destruction. The reason why Vegeta is always bringing up that he's the prince of the Saiyans is not because he wants to rule over people. It's because of what Derek talked about in this book that you can get with the links in the description about how Vegeta was raised thinking he was better than everybody else. So when he calls himself the prince, it's literally a coping mechanism. Let me break it down like this. Whenever Goku does something cool that Vegeta can't do, this is Vegeta in his head. He's like, I don't get it. I'm the prince. Why can he do that? I'm the prince. He's a pauper. He's poor. I grew up rich. I'm special. I'm special. He's not. I'm special. He's not. That's literally what he means when he says I'm the prince of all Saiyans. That's it. That's him. It's not, oh, hey, I want to rule over a bunch of monkeys.
I will say, I do think that Vegeta has a subconscious need to push his pride onto other people. And I would say that's probably the most kingly thing about him, is that he does kind of have this like subconscious need to like make everybody as prideful as him. Like, we kind of saw that in Dragon Ball Super whenever he was fighting Kaba, and he was basically like, if you don't have pride as a Saiyan, like I would destroy planet Sadala because you guys are like a disappointment to me. You know what I mean? Like, so I do think there is like a subconscious need that Vegeta has. Like whenever he was giving Goku the speech about being heartless against Frieza and being merciless against Frieza, I do think that Vegeta does kind of have this like subconscious need to push Saiyans in a particular direction. But do I think that that's like his priority? No, not at all. I don't think that that's his priority at all.
Well, like I said, that him ruling over Saiyan, he doesn't care. Like he just doesn't give a shit.
Right.
So before we get out of here, I want to ask Derek, because Jordan and I did a video at this point, maybe 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Something like that.
And
yeah.
Well, I haven't told you which video it is yet, but it's the one we did about Ultra Instinct versus Ultra Ego, not as far as power goes, but
the philosophy.
Understand the difference in the philosophy. And I wanted to ask Derek how you feel about the way that Toyotaro and Toriyama wrote Vegeta in the post Tournament of Power Super, so Moro and Granola, and how you feel about the decision to give him the Ultra Ego pathway, and how you feel that connects back to who Vegeta used to be. Like, I never talked to you about this. I never have.
Right. Well, I don't actually have that much to say about it. I'm sure you guys, I haven't watched your video, I'm sorry to say, I
It's
don't know
okay.
how long you
No,
guys.
it's fine.
I don't know how much you guys went into it. Um, I think from us like a business standpoint, they needed to give some new transformation, right? For like new toys or whatever.
And that's
So like
common in the anime.
yeah, like that's I kind of how I look at it. But and then I'm like, okay, well now how do I rationalize it from a storytelling standpoint? And because you got to have something to counteract Goku's level up, and it can't be the exact same thing because then Vegeta becomes Goku. So they have to have a contrast to each other, and um, and then they can help each other level up again because that constant Shugo spiral upward. Um, so that's kind of it's like that's who Vegeta was. He's ego driven, and I look at it just sort of from that perspective. I haven't got that deep into it. There's probably more to it. I just haven't dug into it like you guys have.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown of what I talked about, just a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
Cliff Notes
do
version.
you remember when Vegeta fought Imperfect Cell? How he was telling Cell, become perfect, like do your thing, like he was basically like encouraging Cell to lean into his goals, and as a result of that, he was punished. But he was in a sense kind of projecting his personality onto Cell in that particular instance. He was, he's like, oh well, you have the same goals as me. You should lean into those goals. One thing that they've expanded on in Super as of late is that the gods of destruction don't just destroy things. That's not completely their job. Their job is to develop mortals. And how the gods of destruction go about developing mortals is extremely similar to what we saw Vegeta do against Kaba when he tricked Kaba into turning into a Super Saiyan. So essentially, what he does is he finds what ideological position these characters are very passionate about, and then he encourages them to lean into that position so they could learn a lesson from that. So, like for example, in the Granola arc, when Vegeta uses Ultra Ego against Granola, he's essentially taking that action that he used against Imperfect Cell, which was it was not a proactive thing that he did in that case, but he's turning it into something proactive with Granola. He's essentially encouraging Granola to embrace his ego, so that way he would run into the same type of wall that you were discussing, Derek, and then learn from that and then grow from that. So Ultra Ego, in a way, is basically just Vegeta having the opportunity to implement the same sort of weapon in terms of personal growth that Beerus has been implementing towards him. Beerus has helped Vegeta grow a lot as a person and as a martial artist by teaching him all this stuff in terms of destruction and stuff like that. And he's humiliated Vegeta, and he's pointed out the flaws in his ideology and his philosophy and stuff like that. And so Vegeta and Ultra Ego, to me, is like a miniature version of that, where if Vegeta is going to run into a character who is very, very prideful, he's going to encourage them to lean into that pride so they can learn a lesson from that and grow and essentially like destroy themselves and then recreate themselves from scratch, exactly like Beerus encouraged Vegeta to do. You're destroying who you previously were, and then you're rebirthing yourself, which is sort of in a sense a callback to what Vegeta did as Majin Vegeta as well. So I see Ultra Ego as like Vegeta leaning into that sort of path of like helping others destroy themselves and recreate themselves. I don't see it as just a power up. I see it as Vegeta kind of gaining his own mechanic within the series in terms of like helping other characters grow, that is very reflective and reminiscent of what Vegeta has been doing for Goku the entire time. So that's how I see it.
That's great.
Also, Derek, I wanted to ask you how you feel about just the idea of Vegeta taking a different pathway from Goku, like not doing UI and training with Whis, instead learning destruction like that. I love it, but I never got to ask you that question.
Yeah, it's perfect. He would have to do that because otherwise, you got two characters who are becoming too much alike, right? That's not easy to understand. That's one of the lessons that Kazuhiko Torishima imparted on Toriyama is you have to make this easy to understand, and
Hmm.
you have to have contrasts of opposites. And that was right from the start, chapter one, with Goku and Bulma being opposites of one another, Eastern versus Western, boy versus girl, science and technology versus traditional culture, all these things, all the way up to now. And you have to keep them separated. You need to, even if they're doing the same thing, training under the same, in the same place, they need to take a different path because otherwise they sort of become muddled, right? You can't tell them apart. And so the different colors help, right? Of course, the uniforms and things, but and the different colored hair, you can see the difference. But the way that they act, the way that they impart lessons to others, like Jordan was saying, um, they need to do it in a different way, and that's just good storytelling.
Yeah, right. And it's it's we've talked about it like historically, like where is this leading to or whatever. I still think that it's going to lead to Vegeta ultimately being the person to wipe Frieza out in the Super era. Like Goku killed Frieza on Resurrection F. Trunks killed Frieza in the original manga and in Z. Gohan didn't kill Frieza, but Gohan did kill Frieza. I'm sorry, in Fusion Reborn, the movie. I think it makes sense that Vegeta learning all this God of Destruction shit. I'm not saying that this is the sole reason, but I think that people have been wanting Vegeta to get revenge on Frieza going back to the Z era. People love that little rivalry, right? So Vegeta using Hakai on on Frieza, not now, but like when the arc is over, it harkens back to not only revenge for all the things Frieza did to him, but if you remember in Resurrection F, right before Vegeta's about to kill Frieza, he puts his arm out and says, "No more resurrections." If Vegeta does that again in Super to Frieza and says, "No more resurrections," remember what Super taught us. If you get Hakai, you don't just die and go to hell. You cease to exist. Like not Torishima, Morishita, Dr.
I'm glad you brought
Mashirito.
that up.
Mashirito.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up.
Go ahead.
Because I do ultimately think that Frieza is being built up to be the type of mortal that is irredeemable in the sense that he's already been dead. He was in his
Twice.
own personal hell, refused to move on, and after he came back in the Tournament of Power, he blatantly told all of them, he's like, "I'm never going to change. I'll always be evil." Like
Which I
it's just
love.
it doesn't matter how many times I die, how many times you send me to hell. I'm always going to be Frieza. But I do think that that also feeds into the contrast between Goku and Vegeta's characters and their intentions. And that kind of comes back to what I was talking about in terms of the necessity of destruction. If Goku kills someone, they go through the cycle of reincarnation, and then there's a chance that they're going to come back a better person. So if Goku is the one who takes you out, then there's still that chance that you can go through the cycle of reincarnation and become a better person. But if Vegeta's the one to take you out, that means that he, who is better equipped to determine whether or not somebody is irredeemable in comparison to Goku, because Goku's always going to want to get stronger. He's
Thank
always going to
you.
want to bring back opponents and get stronger
Pale
and deal with
gray, pale
stronger.
attention.
Right. He's always going to want to do that. So Vegeta is, in that sense, kind of being built up due to like his sense of judgment and his sense of pride and stuff like that. He is kind of being built up to be the guy who determines whether or not you are worthy of being reincarnated or brought back. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. There's a lot of setup for that that's happening within the manga. I've been talking about that for a long time, and I wholeheartedly agree with that, that is probably the direction that they're trying to go, at the very least.
It
Yeah.
would bring a nice finality to Vegeta's character arc, come full circle because that's what really motivated him post Goku from Namek onward. So
And
would
it
be
doesn't
satisfying.
even, and to me, it doesn't have to be right now. I'm not saying he has to do it like next arc. Like they can take their time with it. Um, there's a lot of people in the chat who clearly have not watched my videos, and you need to. Otherwise, you wouldn't say things like Trunks Briefs. Trunks' last name is not Briefs, brother. Neither is Bulma's. All right, we got a couple of last minute super chats here. We're gonna read these and then be done. JD says Vegeta's UE, Wagamama no Gokui. Is that what it was called? I mean, he's not. I
Yeah.
remember it being called that, but it's been a while. Is meditation rooted in sunyata by focusing on his flaws, wasteful ego, and lustful inclinations, Saiyan pride. Do you think Vegeta UE is based around Mushi Dokugo? That's probably more for Derek than it is for me.
It's definitely for Derek. Yeah.
Okay.
Jordan's like, fuck this.
No, well, basically, it's like emptiness and letting go of the self.
That sounds like
That-
Goku.
That's who Goku is inherently.
Yeah.
So it's a core Buddhist concept. Like, and it became famous because of Zen, which is the Japanese word for Chan Buddhism, which means to sit. And that approach to Buddhism emphasizes experiential learning rather than textbook learning. So if you are sitting in meditation, which is what they do every day for many hours a day, and you ask a question to the Zen master, they will hit you on the head with a stick, which is called a stick warning. Or if you're starting to nod off while you're meditating, they hit you in the head and it's called a stick wake up. And the idea is that you should not ask questions. You should learn through experience. And of course, there are different approaches to Buddhism. Some people might say, well, why are you hitting me in the head with a stick? I came here because I don't know anything. What am I supposed to learn by sitting here and doing nothing? And what you're supposed to learn is that everything is inherently empty, that the things that you're attached to are not actually there.
Very philosophical.
Right. And your appearance will change over time. It's changing even as we're sitting here. And it's not even solid. Everything is moving around. It's wiggling. Like these things look solid, but they're not. They're all vibrating at like ultra fast speeds. You can't even contemplate it. So that's all empty too, right? All the vanity and everything. Your accomplishments are empty. They're going to fade. Your money, you can't take that with you when you die. If you might not even be wealthy enough to have a gravestone, people might not even remember you. Your name will fade over time. All that stuff. So what is there to be attached to, right? Like it's all emptiness. So that's the principal concept of Zen Buddhism, Sunyata, or from Chan or Chan, and then of course it all comes from India. So
Yeah, the journey west.
well, yeah, which was passed on in popular culture through Journey to the West and stuff, and that's all part of Dragon Ball. Um, so if you're going to like lean into self-indulgence, this is where things get complicated and metaphysical. Um, it's like you are leaning into your desires and feelings, and that's the Wagamama, and then like the Gokui is like a mastery of that, or you've attained some kind of secret aspect of this selfishness that seems contradictory because everything I just said is like, well, there's nothing to lean into because there's nothing there, right? But that's what makes it so interesting that Vegeta is the one doing this, and it makes a great counterpart to Ultra Instinct, the Migate no Gokui. So, then you get into like ego and self-awareness and what you understand through meditation and sitting for hours at a time. and then days and months and years and your entire life. That's where things come back to martial arts and to Shugyo and this idea of a lifelong practice. It also touches upon the contrast between sudden enlightenment and gradual enlightenment, where Zen emphasizes sudden enlightenment, which is, um, I guess, best exemplified through stories, where like the koan, like what is the sound of one hand clapping, and it's like, well, it causes your mind to let go of itself, and then you attain sudden enlightenment. Or like you watch a leaf fall from a tree, and it spirals downward, and then it lands on a pool of water, and it creates a ripple. That can cause sudden enlightenment.
Very basic,
Gradual
but
gradual
Eastern.
enlightenment is a much longer term process of slowly letting go of your attachments in order to finally be free of them. And it could take a lifetime, or it could take multiple lifetimes, which is part of why Buddhism discusses reincarnation. Is that you're not going to get it all in one lifetime, and you have to reincarnate as a monk and continue cultivating, and then do it all over again, depending on your enlightenment quality. In Dragon Ball, we see both of these things at work. We see people doing gradual enlightenment through the martial arts, and then they have these big jumps of sudden enlightenment, like when Gohan transforms in Super Saiyan 2 after 16 is killed by Cell. That causes him to snap. That's sudden enlightenment. And he lets go at that moment, and then all of his powers come out. But of course, he trained, for like a decade prior to that point, and suffered tremendously to go through all of the pain that he did to get to that stage where he could then have that sudden enlightenment. So that's the cool thing about Dragon Ball, is it shows you both of them. Um, and I don't actually have a comment on Mushi Dokuko.
I mean, I'll tell you what, and I did a video about this as well. If they ever go back to fusing, if Goku and Vegeta ever fuse again, having a Gogeta or a Vegito that has access to UI and UE might be the most dangerous character in the history of the series outside of Zeno. Because if you're able to tap into both sides of the yin and the yang, both sides of the ultra sphere, you can Hakai and you can use Angel for defense. That's a scary fusion, bro. That is a scary fusion. So thank you for the super chat. We got two more, but before we get to them, I wanted to ask you about, I saw it in the private chat, but I didn't I didn't get to it till now, and I'm trying to put your face up on this thing, but it's being difficult. The giveaway, the hold on, can I make this big? I can. Okay. I got the link in the description right now. Can you tell the people about this giveaway?
Yeah,
Not in
so
the description, in the chat. I'm sorry, in the chat. My bad.
I'm hosting this giveaway for you guys. Last time I was here, we were talking about Goku, and I gave away a Goku figure. And that prize has been awarded. If you did not win it, that's because you didn't get an email about it. It means you didn't win. But thank you for entering anyway. That one went to Scott in Washington State. And then I also gave away a book at the time, and that one went to Brendan in Indiana. So both in the United States, just happened to be. But you can enter this new one for this Super Saiyan Vegeta figure. It's an SH Figure Arts. It's called Awakened Super Saiyan Blood. And it's got tons of poses, 3 faces, and a bunch of hands that you can use to pose them and do all sorts of cool things. And all you got to do is click the link that Danny posted in the chat at Perkzilla, which is my giveaway software. And then you can win this, and I will ship it to you. If you happen to be outside of the United States, you can either pay for the shipping, or I'll give you a book from Amazon of your choice. And if you win it, I'd be happy to sign it to you, and then it'll be yours. So go ahead and enter. Follow me on social media to increase your chances of winning. And the more things you do to follow me, the greater your chances. So good luck.
Yes, I went ahead and made that the pinned comment right now. So make sure you enter the contest. And hey, there it is right there.
Yeah. And here's all the cool poses you can do. You can see all the stances, the hands. So you can
Uh,
recreate those scenes, their favorite scenes of Vegeta.
and
To be
if you get the
yours.
Bulma figure in a little bathtub, you can recreate that scene as well, but not not
Only
here.
your mind would
Also,
go there, Danny.
of course. Also, make sure that you pick up over 9,000. It's in the description. The Derek's first book. Again, easy read. It's not very long, but there's a lot. It's very dense. There's a lot of information in here. But it's basically this stream on steroids and testosterone replacement therapy because it goes even deeper and even more granular into Vegeta's character arc. Hopefully, people understand Vegeta more after this. We have two more left, and then we're out of here. Please do not submit any more super chats. Um, as I said during Daima, stop giving me money. All right, please. We got to get out of here. Dust, dust, dust still did. Just like we had a flashback involving Bardock in the Super manga, would there be any interest in a flashback revolving around King Vegeta, and how do you think it would affect the Vegeta we know now? Well, it would depend on what the flashback is. This all comes down to what the purpose of the flashback is. Like, what would Vegeta be thinking about? What would be what would be the lesson learned? We know, based on things Vegeta has said and Dragon Ball Super Broly, that King Vegeta was a very prideful man like Vegeta, and that he felt that the royal bloodline is, and that's why Vegeta turned out the way that he did, because he had the royal bloodline. Remember, you have to remember the character arc of Vegeta is when he says he's the prince of all Saiyans, it is his coping mechanism. It's him telling himself that to remind himself that Goku is a low level warrior and that Goku should not be surpassing him. The problem is it's reality versus what he wants. It's not about ruling over people. So Vegeta as a man doesn't give a shit about that. He just cares about like his birthright and about being the strongest Saiyan because he thinks that he should be. But that's not how the world works. It's no different than narcissists who think, oh, well, I'm so talented, I should be this or I should be that. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes that is true. Other times you get dealt a bad hand. It happens. Life sucks.
Well, that attitude can also hold you back in life as well. That's the more time you think about the fact that you should be the best, is less time you're using improving your skills. So that's another thing as well.
Right. And I agree with that completely. I think people, if you feel like you're behind someone, do what Vegeta did and train your ass off. If there's somebody who you think is ahead of you, whether it be socially, financially, there are things you can do to close that gap, but life might not give you that opportunity. So, Derek, do you have anything to add about a King Vegeta flashback? I'm not sure how to answer it. Maybe you've got some ideas.
I would echo what you said. Is it depends on how that reflects on Vegeta's growth as a person.
Maybe like stuff where they show King Vegeta like constantly telling Kid Vegeta like, "You're better than this. You're my son." I don't know.
Sure, you could do that. You could go back to his childhood. I'd love to see some of that to understand the mindset that Vegeta might still be holding on to. Because, like I said at the beginning, our parents do the best they can, ideally, but they still messed you up. Like, and that's true for everybody, right? So
that's a fact.
Unless you had like two 100% secure parents who raised secure children who were confident but not egotistical, and they ended up being like ideal people, which is rare. Most people are kind of messed up by their parents. So, and they might not even realize it unless they go down a path of introspection and seeing therapists and are talking with their good friends. they have a lot of things to work through and let go. So seeing King Vegeta doing something or saying something to Vegeta, or maybe we could see his mom and we could learn what kind of a woman she was and a mother who raised him in a certain way. Maybe his mom is who he became in middle age when he ended up getting, with Bulma and then having a son and then a daughter. Like maybe there was a loving side to his family that we never got to see.
So you're
It
saying
could
you
be,
think his mom might be like Guinea, sort of like
sure.
softer?
Yeah, who knows? I mean,
Why
or
not?
maybe she was just crazy psycho. Like who knows? Maybe she was even worse than King Vegeta. Like you could do that. That's like a normal person would write Vegeta's mom like that, but maybe you do the opposite and you're like, she's even worse. She's even scarier than King Vegeta. Like, like the stereotypical Latin mom or something, right? Like people can relate to that. Like, oh, she's gonna hit me with her sandals. Like, who knows? Uh,
Oh, I could
Something
relate.
that people can laugh at a bit and get some humor out of. But then you could also do things where Vegeta reflects on who he is now as a father and a sort of husband. They never have a marriage ceremony, where he thinks about who King Vegeta was as a man, as a father, and then he asks himself who he is now and how he's behaving and whether or not he's a good father and a good man in general. Like that scene in
I like that a lot.
like the scene in Saving Private Ryan, right at the start of the film, where that man is walking in the introduction, where he's walking toward the gravestone, um, and he reflects on his whole past, like all the actions that he did, and then in the movie he asks his wife, like, "Was I a good man? Did I deserve this? Did I did I earn this?" Is what he said. Did I earn having my life saved and everybody else sacrificing their lives for me? That scene always makes me cry. And if Vegeta could have a moment like that, where like, did I earn Kakarot saving my life and bringing me, like, sparing my life, first of all, and then bringing me back to life? Have I done all the things that I should have done as a man over the course of my life up to this point to earn that? I think that would be a powerful moment that every fan can connect with.
I mean that
Yeah.
I love that because that's just building upon who he became. The moment that Vegeta's arc was complete, yes, the speech about Goku being number one is like the close, but there's something else that happens prior to that that's very, very interesting. They make a wish to the dragon to resurrect everybody that was killed by Majin Buu. That's a good person or something like that. And
Yeah.
Vegeta's halo disappears, and Goku goes, "Your halo is gone." And Vegeta's like, "Yeah." They didn't overly explain to the audience. They didn't like hammer it down. At that point, what you're supposed to understand is that the dragon god, because Shenlong and Porunga are based on dragon gods. They are dragon gods, they're just not called gods. Shenlong, the eternal dragon, and Porunga, they have judged Vegeta as now repenting and atoning for his sins, which is why, credit to the dub, they call the sacrifice the final atonement. He atoned for his sins, and in the eyes of the dragon, Vegeta is no longer evil. That's when Vegeta's arc was like, that's it. He's a changed guy. And it's such a powerful fucking scene in this godforsaken series, and people don't even remember that part when it's the most important part, maybe of Vegeta's entire life when you think about it.
Yeah,
Like
it's really cool.
he's past the standard. He's risen up from like total homicidal maniac to a good guy.
It's like when Guile in Street Fighter, when you lose to him and he goes, "Go home and be a family man." Vegeta's like, "All right, all right." Thank you, Cyber Chat. All right, this is the last super chat from Gabby. Danny, could you tell us, based on years of research, what do you think why DB fans are so misinformed? They believe in what they want, not being very smart, etc. In short, why is this fandom the way it is? It's not just Dragon Ball. There's misinformation everywhere. Listen, during the pandemic, I don't want to get into this too much, but there were people that were saying things that made me question the fact that they're able to breed and vote. And unfortunately, bro, I think a lot of this is just people. I think what specifically Dragon Ball, a lot of it is the dub, and a lot of it is just Dragon Ball pages spreading BS. But it's also a problem for every fandom. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say there's also an incentive to spread misinformation, because if you give people misinformation that is palatable, that they enjoy, that they want, you can make money. And that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed, is that there is an incentive online to spread misinformation for the sake of feeding into people's preconceived notions and their biases and making money off of that. So I think that's also a big problem as well. As long as people, as well as people being context blind to a certain degree as well. So,
fair.
It's effort to be informed, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
sit down and read rather than
thinking.
watch. Critical thinking skills, media literacy, reading comprehension, and even Dragon Ball is written for 12-year-olds. So if you're struggling to read a comic book written for 12-year-olds, you need to go back to middle school, I guess.
Brother, I have said that so many times. Whenever somebody asks a question that's that kind of question, in my head or out loud, I'll say, dog, my son's or my friend's 7-year-old son understands this and you don't. Like when somebody said, oh, who's stronger, Kid Gohan at the beginning of Z or Kid Goku in Dragon Ball? And I'm like, the fact that you're asking that question, bro, when the average child can figure that out, that's scary. And to be honest, a lot of it is over here in the West. A lot of it is a problem with the West. Anyways, we got to go. Jordan's got to go. Derek's got to go. I got to go. So, Derek, any final thoughts? Also, guys, make sure you check out Over 9,000. It's in the description. If you want to throw any final thoughts, man, go in right now.
I love having these chats. They're a lot of fun. I love hanging out with you guys in the chat as well. I appreciate your support. I've been doing this since 2007 with my site and my first book in 2012, and I'm still going at it because of support from you guys. So I could not do this without you. I know it's cliche to say, but it's true. And it means a lot when you message me with an email or something short, even on social media. That's a nice motivator for me. And I'd like to keep doing this. So please keep buying my books, sharing them with your friends, and make sure to enter my giveaway for Vegeta. This is my way of giving back to you guys and sharing the love of the fandom.
Yep. Lovely. Yeah, for sure. Also, Jordan and I will probably come back at some point in the next few weeks or a couple months, because we're probably going to go ahead and do Super's manga. That was not the original plan. This whole Mangalorian series is going to be it's all about Toriyama. This whole thing is just about Akira Toriyama. But now that the Moro arc is going to get animated and Toriyama's name is being slapped on it, even though he didn't have that much influence like he used to, I just talked to Jordan. I feel like, and again, that wasn't the original plan. We might as well just do the Super manga. Plus, I haven't read the Moro arc since it first came out. So look forward to that in the future. Huh?
Yeah, I think it'll be a load of fun. I think everybody will enjoy it.
But it'll be different than the regular Mangalorian.
I appreciate all of you guys stopping by and supporting me and Derek and Danny. And I'll see you guys soon. So.
All right, y'all. Have a good one. Take care. And I'll see again, like Jordan said, I'll see you soon.